Go on, nice.
Hello and welcome to this week's See You Next Thursday. I'm afraid Ed78, well, Seamus is still busy with the catwalk. Louis Vuitton couldn't spare him, I'm afraid, though he's going to try and join us after he gets finished stretching. So instead, I'm afraid you just stuck with Ed1 and Ed25. Billy. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks, Chris, and welcome to anyone who's listening in.
Oh, I'm sure you're in great fettle today, aren't you? After such a stunningly good window for Everton.
Yeah. Merseyside is shocking with the footballers now. All the people who come.
I mean, it was. I mean, that was a window to well, remember for all
Forget.
time, isn't it? Still, it could
Yeah.
have been worse. You could have. No, I can't think. Actually, no, I can't
No,
think
it
of
couldn't have been
anything.
worse.
No.
It couldn't have
I
been
was,
worse.
I was going to come up with something that one of the other clubs had done that was worse, but like I literally can't think of anything that could have been worse than what's happened at Everton this month. Oh well,
I can't, no.
we'll get to that soon enough. So, how are you
Yeah.
apart from that, mate?
I'm good, you know. It's been cold here, but I've got through it, and spring's on its way, I believe, so
I'm not going to say
looking
anything
forward to that.
cold. I'm sat here pouring in sweat, been moaning all day. It's been far
Yeah.
too fucking
Yeah,
hot,
I bleeds here,
so
can assure
humid.
you.
Ah, I tell you wouldn't want it, mate. You wouldn't want it. Ah, I tell you, I'll be glad when I move, so I'll have air conditioning again. So fucking hot. Sorry. do I need to say? I won't mind, but I got a fucking rash all over me. Little red dots everywhere. Ah, I'm blaming that on the heat. So, to make you feel better. See, heat's bad for you.
Yeah, I
So,
don't know what it is, yeah.
so we get started then anyway. Should we talk about,
Go on,
should we
Trish.
just start at the alphabetically, go through them? It's the
Yeah,
easiest way.
that's the best way, yeah. Best way to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, because Wolves quite, they've got quite a lot to do, so it's not like we're going to get to the end and be like, oh, and then we've got to do, well, you know what I mean? So it's quite an interesting one. So yeah, we'll start with Arsenal then. So,
Right.
um,
Jorginho.
well, should we do the outs first? Because they're outs aren't very
Yeah,
interesting.
go
We'll
on.
just get them out the way. Like Cedric to Fulham on loan, Marquinhos to Norwich on loan, and Lokonga to Crystal Palace on loan. None of them were gonna get in the team, were they? So yeah,
No,
you
no.
can understand
Only
it. I mean,
fringe players.
yeah, Cedric wasn't even in the team. They were putting a centre back at right back rather than play him. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so not a lot to
Yeah,
say.
they got rid of a few, that's all.
Yeah, just out on loan so they can. Still got like that. Marquinhos has still got a chance of coming back. The Lakonga looks a bad buy, to be honest. He doesn't look good enough, but maybe a run of games is what he needs. Maybe that's his
Maybe,
problem.
yeah.
Yeah, but so the ins. Obviously, we'll start with Jorginho then, since you've mentioned him. Uh,
Yeah. To be fair, the price was a very good price, wasn't it? I don't know what his
why?
wages
How
are,
much
but
did Chelsea pay them?
12 million. 12 million.
Chelsea paid them 12 million to take him. Oh well, in that case, yeah, it's not done badly then.
I think he'll do all right for them, you know.
It
I
was
think.
less than 12, by the way. It was 10.
Oh, was it? Come up on Sky as 12 million anyway.
I believe it was 10.
All
Apparently.
right, okay.
It's 12. Yeah, I think it was
But
12, about
I
12 million
think.
euros. I think.
Oh, was it? He's got Premier League experience. They're short because Thomas Partey looks though he's out for a little bit. I think he'll do a job for them. You know, he's a skillful player.
Yeah, but
He
you could
doesn't
do a
always give
job.
100%.
Skillful.
Yeah.
Really? Jorginho.
I think he's quite skillful. Yeah.
Hmm.
I'd have took him. Put it that way. Whatever.
That's hardly saying much, is it?
No, it isn't Trish. No.
No, I mean, let's be honest. If I laced up my boots, you'd put me in the midfield right now. Let's be yeah. No, I'm not a
So
fan of
you don't
him.
think it's a good?
I think he's
You
crap.
don't think it's a good purchase?
No, he's lacks mobility. He's rash. He'll play. I mean, the only thing I can think of is if you play him slightly further forward, he's got good technique striking a ball. but his passing, I mean,
Yeah.
every pass he does, he passes sideways or backwards. I mean, this is the thing I was saying to you on I think I said it on didn't I say it in the WhatsApp group we're in, about the stats, and I was shocked.
Yeah.
Because I thought, like, I've watched him and I've thought he's terrible. He just passes sideways, but he lingers on the ball too long. He makes the wrong decisions for me. He's caught out of position constantly, in my opinion. He makes rash challenges because he's caught out of position. He's too slow to get back, and I watch him and I just think he doesn't spot good passes. He always takes the easy pass, just straight sideways, 2 yards. That's it. That's what he does. I've always thought that that's the eye test, and I always thought stats. It must be statistically he must be brilliant, and I must be seeing the wrong, just see him. But I read a comparison of him, Thomas Partey, and it was about how Thomas Partey's key to how great Arsenal have been this season. And it compared him with Jorginho and Fabinho. Now, Fabinho's been abysmal this season. Absolutely awful.
Yeah,
I don't think
has,
anyone could argue that. But statistically, he's miles ahead of Jorginho at everything except passing backwards and sideways. Jorginho came out well ahead of the rest at passing backwards or so, but they were rating like the pass that incisive passing and things like this in this analysis, and he was just dreadful. He just didn't pass forwards, and he didn't pick a forward pass even when there was one open, and they're looking at it and going, well, there's an open pass there, an open pass there, an open pass there, but he picked the one that went backwards rather than the one that went forwards 9 times out of 10, and that, whereas the others had looked to go forward and that and stuff like that. And I just thought, he just really is shit. There's no two ways about it. It's not that I'm wrong,
I think he's right.
He's been terrible.
I think he's all right. I think he'll do a job for them because they're going to miss Partey. I don't know how long Partey's out for, actually, but he's been great for them, Thomas Partey. He's a damn good player, Partey. And they needed someone. I don't think they've got, well, I'm not sure if they've got the money to buy someone big, but it's not a great time anyway, January, is it, to buy? And they got him for 12 million. He was Premiership proven, and
but he's
I think he can do a job for them
in the Premier League.
I know, but he's got Premier League experience, should I say? He's got Premier League experience, and I think he'll do okay for them.
But
he's not Thomas Partey. He's not going to beat Thomas Partey, but I think he's another body in there that gives them another option.
Do you not think?
I think it's been.
He's just like
for 12 million. He possibly is, but for 12 million, you can't really argue with the business.
If you
I
played
think
him
he's done okay.
Further forward, like Xhaka has done, move forward, and he's looked a better player. But they're bringing him in to play the deeper role, which is where he's already been proved to be hopeless. So I just think it's a bit of it's a desperate move for someone that they'd have been better off just putting a kid in there. I don't.
Yeah, but he mightn't have a kid. He mightn't play. He mightn't play much. But it gives him an option. It gives him another option. Anyway, at least there's a body who can go in there, and he might link up better with Arsenal players than he links up with Chelsea players. You don't know. I just think he might be, a decent buy for 12 million, which is buttons these days, isn't it? Let's be honest about it.
If they were looking to move him forward and play him in front of Partey, I could see the value in it because I think he'd be a much better player there. I still don't think he'd be a great player, but he'd do it. I think to use your parlance, he'd do a job there. But as a deep lying player, I just think he's a liability.
Yeah, he might be, but it could just work. Well, for 12 million, it's not even taking a chance, is it?
Well,
I think they're okay. I think he'll do okay.
They've already spent way over the odds. They've been, they were the biggest spenders for the last few seasons. Like they're, way above what they could actually afford to spend. So, now to buy another one, I just think they'd have been better. And I know you want to speculate to a Cuban when you're at the top. You want to bring in players. I get that.
Yeah.
You don't want to let the chance slip, but I just think you've got to bring in the right players.
Yeah, I can see that. But I don't... I think it was a bit of a panic buy, as you say, with Thomas Partey getting injured. I think if Partey hadn't got injured, I don't think they'd have gone for him. And as you say, it's probably a bit of a panic buy on that front. But it's another body in there, and I think, you know, he might be able to do a job for them. I think it's a decent bit of business, actually.
I think it was more the Caicedo turning them down issue.
Yeah, possibly.
Well, not
yeah,
Caicedo
possibly.
didn't turn them down. I mean, Brighton turning down a move for Caicedo.
Yeah.
I should say Caicedo was desperate to make a move to anybody who'd pay him more money.
Yeah.
Which
3,000 a week he's on, so you can't...
Oh, yeah, but, you know, he's in a position... He's been there, what, 6 months now?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. You want to speak to them about a pay rise rather than force.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more than that.
You should be in. They've brought you in. They've given you a chance to shine. You've shined.
Yeah.
Ask for a pay rise by all means. People have come in. You should be using that to say, leveraging it. Go in and say, look, I understand you want to keep me. You don't want to sell me. I'd have preferred the move, but you've done me you've brought me in. Give me a pay, but I need a pay rise because I'm on a ridiculously low salary and I could do with a lot more. You know what I mean? Compared to the other players, I think it's only fair that. Then I'd have no problem with that. But what he's done is just no. I just think it suggests to me I wouldn't want him. If you know what I mean, at my club, you know what I mean. Put me off him for a while. He was the one I'd want, but not anymore.
Right. Yeah, maybe it's a bit of frustration there. We're not on to Brighton yet. Anyway, let's finish with Arsenal. Which, as you say, we've done the out of Arsenal, and you know, is there only Jorginho's coming?
No. They signed 2 more. They bought that Jakub where's Seamus when you need him? The Polish defender Kiwior, I think it's pronounced, but I'm not 100% certain. So I apologise if I pronounced it wrong. Seamus isn't here to put the suggestion, to make the pronunciation semi-correct. Anyway, Jakub Kiwior, I'm going to say use that from Spezia for €25 million. So what's that? Nearly £20 million. Over £20 million. I mean. Don't know much about him. I've not seen him play.
I don't know much about him now.
But I
know else first.
And Leandro Trossard was the other one.
Oh, Trossard, yeah, of course. Yeah, that was a bit before the end one.
That one I can see. Okay, it's a bit of a panic buy because they failed to get Mudryk. I get that. After all, it seemed like
Jesus injured. With Jesus being injured, they did need a forward. I don't think he's absolute top quality, but I think he'll do a job, and he's a grafter as Trossard, I think.
Yeah, exactly. He's a grafter. He's decent enough player. Okay, he's very inconsistent, and he's 28 years old, so he's not going to get better. But it provides a bit of. It's like Jorginho, provides a bit of experience, but he's coming in on the back of playing well from a team that's on fire. So So he won't be coming in on a bit of a downer like Jorginho will.
But I think we touched on it last week about Trossard. He can be the best player on the pitch, and he can be the worst player on the pitch, can't he? So in and out, isn't he? That's Trossard's thing.
And he can miss.
He can score stunners. Scored a hat-trick against Liverpool, I think. And
but he missed even in that
2 games
game. He missed
got dragged off.
But he misses sitters on that. You know what I mean? He'll have open goal and he'll be 2 yards out and he'll miss. But then he'll be on 30 yards and he'll score for them there a stunning goal. And you're thinking, you should be sitting there with 7 goals in this match, and instead you end up with 3. I mean, it's not just inconsistent over the course of a season. He's inconsistent within a game. I mean, from 1 minute to the next, he can be equally parts terrible and brilliant. So. I mean, he could be a good signing or a terrible signing.
But him and Jorginho, they've been brought in because of injuries. I don't think they've got the strongest squad. And they've tried to beef it up a bit because of the injury to Jesus and the injury to Thomas Partey. They tried to get bodies in. And they had to get someone in.
Didn't they have somebody else injured?
Have they?
Was it El Nini? Someone like that got injured as well, so they didn't even have to back up.
El Nini's injured,
Yeah, that's why
he's not a big loss, though.
Well, it is when it's your only cover for a player, really.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, again, that's the fault of Arteta. They've had to panic buy because he's driven anybody else out of the club. You know, anybody that wasn't that had the slightest bit of disagreement with him or wasn't in his plans is gone. You know what I mean? He's literally destroyed their squad and forced them into spending huge amounts of money to rebuild, you know, to get players in, and now they're having to panic buy because of it. It's so yeah.
Well, do you think
short term he's doing well, but like, you know, can they sustain it if this is how he's carrying on?
Do you think with that style? I know we're getting off the subject a bit here of Arsenal, but you know, he was Pep's number 2, Arteta, and Pep seems to have done the same thing with the fullback.
Cancelo.
What's his name? It was just called
Cancelo.
I think he's an absolutely fantastic player. Fell out with him, out the club. You know what I mean? No second chance. No, is that the way the modern manager does it now? You know, if players don't agree with you, get them out the club. Looks as though Arteta's done it, and it looks as though Pep does it. You know.
Yeah, I mean,
just wondering.
For me, that's you know, I can see it depends on if they're disruptive or, you know, it really depends on the circumstances. But you know, when it's like the odd one, like with Pep Guardiola, there's been Yaya Toure, there's been Zlatan Ibrahimovic, there's been a few others, you know what I mean? But it hasn't been a whole squad having to rip apart a squad each time. He manages to keep a squad, you know what I mean? He's still, it's only the odd one that happens to. With Arteta, it's been half the team each time. It's half the players are literally just.
I know. He done it with Saliba, didn't he? He got rid of Saliba when he really needed him.
Yeah, sent him away on loan for no reason, like when he was their best player. It's just bizarre.
Yeah,
now he's back in the team, and it's not a long-term way. It's not a good long-term way of managing, in my opinion. I think it's long-term. I think he's given himself problems that he doesn't need to give himself. Just a little bit of you know, a little bit of give and take even.
Give and take.
Yeah, would have made a huge amount of difference, and I think would have given them a much better chance of winning the league. And they'd have been in a better position last season and that as well. They wouldn't have had to have spent so much money, and they wouldn't have lost so much money, I think.
But he is still a fledgling in managerial terms, so maybe he'll learn. I think he's learned with Saliba. I think he's, you know, he backtracked on that, and maybe he's learning as he goes, and he might
only time
settle down and time will tell, as you say.
Yeah, he's got to look. I mean, you can't just keep drumming all the players out of your club though all the time. The way he's done it, But I mean, yeah, you're right. He could be learning. He could well be next. You know, he could well next. You know, start working with them to keep them on board. But yeah. Well, only time will tell on that.
You'll see on that one. Yeah,
it's a bit like when do you start thinking he's actually the real deal rather than just waiting for it all to collapse? Well, when he wins something as the first step. I mean, you look at Solskjaer, he was in a similar position. Brendan Rodgers had Liverpool in a similar position before it all fell apart. It's too early to judge Arteta. People want to give him credit far too early, want to say he's great already, and it's like, hang on, this is like he's not shown. He's been terrible for 2 seasons now, or whatever it is. The 2 seasons, he's not. It's not suddenly come good because he's great. You know what I mean? It's clearly there's more to it.
Yeah, but as you say, it's only fledgling. Let's see how he gets on, and see if he improves his manner or his ability. But he's doing okay up to now. So,
and if we can keep them at the top, that's this season. That's the important thing, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Europe's a big deal to them, and I think they'll get in Europe. I don't think there's any doubt there. But I think that's his aim. If he wins it, all well and good. But even Champions League qualifications, a bit of a boost for Arsenal, its supporters, the owners, the whole club really, and he's on the right track to do that at the moment. Whether they actually win it is another thing.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough ask. City will always going to improve, aren't they, as the season goes on.
Yeah.
So,
Right, who's next, Tris?
Aston Villa next. Should we do the outs again first?
Yeah, go on, mate.
Well, Danny Ings.
Yeah, surprising one for me, that.
Good offer. I think it was 18 months left on his contract. Decent money. He's on big wages. Cleared out. It gave them a bit of space to work, and it was their last chance to get a decent fee for him.
Yeah.
I think it worked for them. I think it worked for them.
Yeah, isn't he injured again now?
Yeah, the first game he picked up a bad injury, which is just typical of his luck, really, isn't it?
I know. He's had a terrible time in his career with the injuries, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And I think he's a damn good player as well, but
He's great.
If you're blighted by injuries like that, there's not a lot you can do. He's made a good living out of football. Don't get me wrong. But he puts the hours in as well, and he puts the performances in when he's on the field. And I think he's a great player. I'd have stuck him at Everton.
Works his ass off. Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
That's always a plus.
I'm not holding that against him.
Or Sean Dyche, for that matter. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he's a goal scorer. He sniffs goals.
Yeah, he is.
His ass off for the team. There's a lot to like about Danny Ings, but unfortunately he does seem to suffer so many injuries. But for 10 million, he could turn out to be a great buy for West Ham in the long term. He's only 30 as well, but he has had a couple of serious knee injuries, so you don't know how much he's got left in the tank.
No, but for the money, I think it's a good deal for West Ham, and it frees up money for Villa. So
yeah,
I think it's a good move all round there.
Gave them a bit of leeway because he was the only player they really had to sell. So, I mean, they lost that Frederick Gilb, but the right back never managed to force his way into this team for some reason. I don't know why. He always looked quite decent when I saw him, but he's gone off to Racing Strasbourg on a free.
All right.
Youngster Cameron Archer went off to Middlesbrough on loan. That Morgan Sanson, he also went off to Racing Strasbourg on loan. I always thought he had something about him, but he just never seemed to quite live up to that reputation. What I thought he'd be. He just never seemed to quite manage to put it together.
I haven't seen much of him, to be perfectly honest. I haven't seen much of him.
Yeah,
Is Deeps with us at the moment?
I don't know. It's a shame he's turned up.
I thought I heard him come on.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, he's come off the catwalk. Oh, he's probably
finally off.
He's probably busy. Is he busy? Can I take changing his clothes or something?
How are you doing, Deep? Is he with us?
I don't know. He's definitely signed in on Discord. He's joined the chat.
Yeah, I am in.
Hey!
Good evening, Deeps.
Yeah, Chris finally agreed to pay me per appearance on here.
I'm paying you exactly the same as Billy's getting, and everybody else who appears on the podcast. Fuck all.
Yeah, diddly squat.
Yeah, it's 100% increase on what you were getting before, Sam.
Yeah, my new terms have been negotiated. It's a bumper pay rise of 100%, maybe even 500%, who knows.
As much as you want it to be, as many percent as you want it to be, mate. That's how many it is. It's an honour to have Nepal's top model on.
Yeah.
He's gone.
Yeah,
looking
and
good.
It's a privilege. And it's a privilege to be talking to Liverpool's biggest liars.
We've seen the videos, mate. We've seen the video. We know how it works. Did you have anything to say? We're on about Villa. Don't know if you heard. We're on Villa's outs at the moment. Sorry, just to get back to it. I just suddenly thought we better get back to it before we forget where we're up to. So we've said Danny Ings, Frederick Gilbert's gone on a free, Cameron Archer on loan, Morgan Sanson on loan, Marvellous Nakamba out on loan. That's a shame. Luton Town. And Bednarek went back to Southampton. And Ludwig Augustinsson went back to Sevilla.
Yeah.
They ended their loans.
No, he went to Getafe, Mallorca, somewhere.
Yeah, he did move on afterwards. Yeah. I think those outs, I mean, none of them were getting in the team. I mean, Gilbert was already out on loan. Sanson couldn't get near the team. Nakamba always seemed to be on the fringes, but never quite managed to get a run. And I don't think Emery liked him.
He wasn't that marvellous, was he?
No. Sometimes he could be brilliant, to be fair. I've seen him have some stunning...
No. No, he's never been brilliant. He's always been marvellous.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, some... fucking cockroaches. Fucking cockroaches. Sorry,
He's very capable. He's capable of having a very good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, very capable.
So what about the ends, Trish?
We've got John Duran, striker from Chicago Fire, 19 years old, for about 14 million, something like that. Alex Moreno, a left back, he's 29, from Real Betis, 10 million plus. Bertrand Traore came back from loan at Basek Sehir because he was injured and they didn't want him.
Alright.
So not really much on the ins, surprisingly.
No, not strengthened, have they?
No, I mean, a kid that's probably not likely to be ready. An injured forward who wasn't good enough in the first place, and 29-year-old left back. I mean, mind they were short at left back, weren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, they did need a
Well,
left back, but
because Lucas Digne wasn't.
yeah, because he's shit.
Really?
Sorry, the
Really?
best left back in the world ever, Lucas Digne, is actually shit.
Not ever, but one of them at the time that we had the conversation. He was.
No, at the time you had him on your books.
Oh, is that what it was? I knew it was something.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's all it was.
He's not been any good since he's left Everton, has he?
It's convenient
No.
how he suddenly becomes shit after leaving, isn't it? It's amazing.
No,
Yeah.
but I guess it's to be expected because beforehand he was playing with players that would have a good game if they were having a shit performance. So it was not a true reflection of his. It was more a commentary on Everton Football Club as a whole. It's a shit show,
Yeah.
and it.
Oh,
Absolutely.
oh, Seamus. Oh my God. How could you say
I
that
couldn't
about
agree with
Everton?
him more, by the way.
Just
I
'cause
couldn't
it's
agree with
true.
him more. Yeah,
mean,
it's got nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, it says it all. The calendar, the February, the face of the calendar. February's is Anthony Gordon in the Everton calendar. I mean, that's you just couldn't write it, could you? Who
You
thought to
couldn't, no.
put him there? I mean, it
That's
must
who
have,
thought to bring out an Everton calendar in the first place?
I'm even
That's
more
not no
surprised
use.
if somebody's bought it, because that's how I know that there's a Gordon picture, because they've shared it online. I mean, who would actually admit to having one? Even my cousins are saying, I haven't got one, oh, I haven't got one, and they're both Everton fans, and they're denying they've got one and didn't know he was in there. I don't believe them, but
I'd love one.
that's sad. But you are old,
Okay.
so calendars are still used by old people.
Leave Everton alone.
Well, we'll save it till we
They're,
get there.
they're
shall we?
alone. They're alone at the bottom of the table.
Oh, we'll have a
Some
lot
yet.
to talk about when we get there. So should we move on
Right.
to Bournemouth?
Yeah, Bournemouth, yeah, go on, McTruss.
Okay then. Outs.
Just a couple in. Go on, do the outs first.
Outs. Ben Pearson on loan to Stoke. Siriki Dembele on loan to Auxerre. Emiliano Marcondes, Nordsjælland on loan. Jamal Lowe, QPR on loan. In fact, they're all going out on loan, so I won't bother saying that anymore. James Hill to Hearts, Gavin Kilkenny to Charlton, and Will Dennis to Slough. I think it's basically a case of they couldn't sell any of them, so they've had to send them out on loan.
Yeah.
That's what it comes across as, because none of them seem like players that are
No
anywhere
one's
near the
buying them,
team.
are they? No, absolutely not. No. Got rid of bodies, that's all they've done.
Yeah, so they can make some space in the squad, and they've brought in a lot of players. I mean, 7 players.
Surprisingly,
6 players, sorry. Ilya Sabany, from Kiev. He's only 20, like, but he's a centre
Ilya
back.
Zabarny.
20 million, Ukrainian lad. What'd you say, Seamus?
Ilya Zabarny.
Yeah, something like that. That's what I said, didn't I? Dango Utare from FC Lorient, another 20-year-old, another one about 20 million for a winger. The owner of Bournemouth has just bought a stake in Lorient as well, which like helped with the negotiations apparently, because that was part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see that?
So it's just like I don't like all this buying up extra clubs myself. Antoine Semenyo from Bristol City, striker, 23 again, decent age, 10 million, less than 10 million, not bad price. Like Matthias Wiener on loan from AS Roma, they're paying €750,000 for the loan. Not really seen him. Darren Randolph's coming on a free from West Ham. Veteran keeper, just a third choice, I'd assume. Hamed Junior Traore, 22 from Sassuolo on loan. He's an attacking midfielder apparently, and that's their lot. So, can't say.
You're not aware of Hamed.
Oh, is it Ham? Fuck.
No, I'm not trying to
Is it just Hamed?
correct your pronunciation. No, I'm just saying like, isn't he Amad Diallo's brother?
I was going to say, isn't that? I know him as just Hamed, but I didn't know Hamed Junior Traore. Yeah, he's whose brother is he? I can't remember. I know he's.
No, before Amad Diallo moved to Manchester United from Atalanta, he was Amad Traore, and they were brothers. I don't know whether they're still brothers.
Yes, they're classed as brothers. Yeah, Amad Diallo.
No, I'm not trying to be funny, Billy, because apparently their passports were like it's a long story.
Yeah,
it took us 6 months. Yeah, it took us 6 months to actually get him transferred from Atalanta to Man United.
All right, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, but I mean they haven't got birth certificates or anything on a lot of these kids. Like,
yeah, apparently they were trafficked / smuggled into Italy.
Yeah,
and they're not the only 2 kids.
No, and you've no idea whether they really are brothers or not, because we've got no real birth records of them or anything. But yeah, he is the one that's classed as his brother. I've known the name now. It's just everyone just knows him as Hamed, though, don't they? I didn't think. I know what you mean now. I've heard the name.
Yeah, I think he's a decent player. He's a very good pickup for Bournemouth.
Not seen him play. That's my extent of my knowledge, is that he's the supposed brother, and there was all the, I just remember the story about, because were they refugees snuck in or
yeah something? They were refugees snuck in illegally into Italy.
Yeah,
acquired documents illegally. That is why it was a bit too much for us to get a transfer through with so little time on our hands.
Yeah.
And even then, I don't think he managed to reach Manchester on the January 1st either. It took us still a days to actually complete the transfer, even 6 months later.
Was a very messy transfer.
So what do we think of that? Sorry, What do we think of Bournemouth's transfer dealings?
Brought in some young players. I mean, it's one of those. It's they're having to take chances, and they're bringing in young players who should be able to grow with the team. So I think that's all they could do, really. To be honest, I think their problem is that their manager still is a novice, and kind of that's more the issue I think they've got at the moment.
Yeah, I think they just bought numbers by the looks of it, by the standard of players. I don't think they bought numbers, and they might come good, they might not. It's just been a big gamble for them this window, I think. But they have spent money, haven't they? What have they laid out? Something like 60 million altogether.
How much is it? 80 million. 83 million
80 million
euros. So it's about 70 million pounds, I would say, something like that.
Yeah. It's a big layout for a club of Bournemouth side, though, isn't it? You know, in a January transfer window.
New owner
it's
come in.
A lot of money.
Pumping in funds.
Yeah.
And to be fair, they've always spent heavily under Denham as well, considering the size of the club. Considering their ground only holds something, what was it, like 18,000 or something? 11,000. Shit, it's even smaller than I thought. 11,329 seats. I mean, fucking hell, they can't make much from that, can they?
No.
So, yeah, that's a lot of money to spend out when you're only getting 11,000 people through the doors every week. Wow.
Certainly, yes.
Yeah, and they haven't got their Russian owner anymore because they've been bought out, and hence why the new owners also bought into Lorient, hence Dango Ouattara. I mean, they've taken a gamble basically on kids that might turn out to be good, and a championship forward that might turn out to be capable of stepping up. But I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know enough about the players to really say yeah or no. Do you know enough about them, Seamus?
Well, I don't know much about most of the players either, but the issue with signing players in January window when you're in a relegation battle, and 20 million is a decent enough number still, is if you do go down, will those players want to stick around with you, or will you have to take a hit on them as well?
We usually have they will have, would have thought, relegation release clauses in their contract to reduce their salary if they go down and stuff, so.
No, but my point is, like, will they be able to recoup the same amount of money?
Oh, they're going to struggle if they do go down, yeah, you're right. It's always a problem.
Yeah.
So, should we move on to Brentford next?
Yeah.
We've got out Sergi Canos, gone to Olympiacos on loan. Mads Beck Sorensen's gone to Groningen on loan. In fact, all of these have gone on loan as well, so I won't bother saying that again. Tariq Fosu's Rotherham United, Charlie Good to Blackpool, and Ellery Balcom's gone to Bristol Rovers. Again, it just feels like they're players they couldn't sell, so they've had to send them out on loan because none of them are particularly young. Balcom's the only one that's under 24, like, you know what I mean? You'd still expect to be making major improvements in his game. And he's only gone to League One, so yeah, you'd have to think these are just players that they're trying to get rid of rather than. So it's quite worrying that they couldn't sell them.
And they'll get a bit of money on loan, you know, to get them off the wage bill at least, won't they? So hopefully, some of the wages anyway. So.
Well, Sorensen and Fosu and Balcom were already on loans. They've just come back from loan periods. So three of them were, you know, they weren't. They just sent them out on fresh loans as soon as they come back, which says a lot.
They've got no future out there really at
Yeah, so it just looks like they're just trying to make space in the squad, like we thought with Bournemouth, to be honest. They've also spent a fair amount though as well this season. So and Inns, Kevin Schade, is it Schade or Schade? Schade, I think it is. The winger from Freiburg paid a loan fee of €1 million. Meant to be quick. Good player, and that's the only other thing is a young right back came back from a loan spell with Swansea, Finn Stevens. Other than that, nothing. That's so basically all they brought in is a young winger from Freiburg. I mean, he's highly rated,
Yeah.
isn't he? Seamus.
Yeah, apparently.
Bit of a speed merchant, apparently, isn't he?
Yeah,
Well,
but
you know,
maybe
go on.
he's meant to be. He's just meant to be a replacement for Ivan Toney, and I guess when he gets sanctioned.
But yeah, that's their big
Yeah.
worry is they've still got to wait on Tony's punishment because he's the key player for them.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna get.
They're going to struggle if they lose Tony for a long period. I feel anyway.
Well, he's got to he's got to be banned for a long period if he's found guilty. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's just how long it takes.
Yeah, I guess if it gets done anytime soon, it's gonna be a season ender for him.
Yeah, it's probably
Yeah,
going to be
I'd say
it'd
so.
probably be close to a season out. I would have thought because I've seen people with like just a couple of offences getting months. So, I mean, one offence in the case of Daniel Sturridge put him out for what 3 months was it his ban?
Yeah, and didn't Kieran Trippier get like what 12 weeks for
Yeah.
one offense as well?
Yeah, 3 months again. That's 3
And
months.
even his offense sounded very innocuous as well.
Exactly the same.
A friend, yeah,
Yeah,
a
somebody
friend saw
overheard
him
didn't they?
packing and yeah,
Yeah.
no friend saw him packing and that is how Trippier got.
I mean, it's
Charged.
ludicrous. Yeah, I mean,
Is it already into thousands? The number of offenses for Tony, or are we still waiting for it to get to 1,000?
I think it's just something like, isn't it
It's-
something like 400-500 or something ridiculous? I mean, it's still obscene
It's,
amount.
It keeps growing as well. It keeps growing.
Yeah. You think they'll probably be in the thousands by the time it reaches,
Yeah.
before they decide.
He must have backed on Lucas Dean to be the best left back in the world,
And
and
Everton
he
to
got
stay
caught out. He got caught on that, yeah.
Yeah, he probably had money on Frank Lampard last in the season. Sean Dyche to take over at West Ham. Oh, bollocks. So, yeah, and we'll move on anyway, because I don't think there's much more we can say about them. We'll move on to Brighton. Out, obviously, Leandro Trossard. Shane Duffy's gone to Fulham. I mean, that's a good sign for them. That's a plus on itself. Isn't it, getting rid of him, because he's shit. Aaron Connolly came back from a loan spell, and then they sent him off to Venezia. Came back from Venezia, then sent him off to Hull City, and obviously they lost their. That was earlier in the season, obviously, but Mwepu's obviously they've lost him off their books between the start of the season and now, because he had the heart problem and retired, sadly.
Yeah.
So I mean, Shane Duffy was on loan at Fulham anyway, so it makes no difference to him. But he was shit anyway, so it's not a disadvantage losing him, is it? Let's be honest. Aaron Connolly's can't score on a brothel with a fistful of 50s. Enoch Mwepu's a big loss. I mean, he looked a better player than Caicedo. So yeah, big loss he is, sadly. But and Trossard, well, he didn't score enough goals really for them playing as a forward. So I think good business. They kept hold of Caicedo if they can get him playing. Worrying signs though there. I mean, Trossard went because he fell out with the manager. There's been a couple of others that have fallen out with the manager, so they've said already. There's worrying signs he's got a bit of an Arteta complex, isn't there? Is this something you know about him, Seamus? Is he like that?
Not really. No, I thought he was your typical Italian Graham Potter.
Yeah, tactically and that, but
No, not just tactically. I thought he was very good at uniting a squad.
because when you say typical Italian, that normally means fiery and confrontational in European.
No, I meant like your typical. No, I meant more like your Graham Potter from Italy type of
Right,
character.
got you.
I was under that
Got you.
impression. But
Yeah.
even even with my vast knowledge and like what mythological powers, there are certain limitations.
Hmm. Yeah,
They're still
especially
doing very
especially
well,
now.
Brighton, aren't they?
No, I might look like a
Still-
Greek god, but I actually am not a Greek god.
And like, we've seen the video. We can only agree he does look like a Greek god. Because those are the ones with the very small penises, right?
Yeah, small penises and fat bellies.
I think you'll get mixed up with Buddha, mate. Oh, bless you. Yeah, Inns for Brighton ain't much. They've got Facundo Buonanotte, the Argentine teenager, and Yasin Ayeri, another teenager, this time from AIK. They've spent 10 million euros in total on the pair, but their scouting's usually very good, so you'd expect them in
Yeah,
time
yeah.
to do well. But yeah, they've got that Evan Ferguson's been sensational for them.
Yeah. He was injured the last game, though, wasn't he? Ferguson.
Yeah. Sadly for Fabinho, that was a
But he
horrible
does look a
challenge.
big. Yeah, well, yeah. He does look a player, though, doesn't he? Ferguson.
Fabulous player, and he's the goal scorer they've been looking for, by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Well, they look transformed with a goal scorer, don't they?
Yeah. They're a good side, though, aren't they, Brighton? They're going to give everyone a game who they play. And I know they've changed manager, and I thought losing Potter might have been the downfall of them, but the lad who's come in, he's done very well, and they're a force to be reckoned with, Brighton.
It was interesting what Trossard had to say, though. He was saying that De Zerbi hadn't spoken to him for a while. De Zerbi said that he sat down and talked to him like he was a member of his family about wanting to move away and he wanted to keep him or something like that. He made it sound like they'd had a long chat about it, whereas Leandro Trossard was trying to say, "Oh no, he doesn't speak to me at all," and that. So you don't know who to believe, do you?
No, you don't know.
But
no.
Yeah, I mean, Trossard might have just been trying to force a move. I think that's more likely, personally. I would put it as Trossard's just being an arse to get out of the club, if you ask me, because he just wanted to go, because he wanted. I mean, he's 28 years old. This is his last chance of a big move, isn't it? So
Yeah,
I can understand it from Trossard's point of view, even if it does leave a bad taste in the mouth. But how do you read it, Seamus? Because you were saying you've heard he's a bit like Graham Potter, very, brings them together as a team. So
I'm surprised.
So
I'm surprised with how the whole Trossard saga panned out.
yeah, do you think there's something in Trossard's complaints, or do you think he was just trying to force a move to get some money? Last big chance.
I guess there might be a chance that they had a bit of a fallout, but Trossard can't say too much because he walked away from training after he was told he wasn't going to start, so that's not the most professional behavior, I guess.
Well, he claims he doesn't he? He claims that he didn't actually walk out of training, that he had an injury and went off for treatment, and that he'd told De Zerbi. But then he also said he hadn't spoken to De Zerbi for months, for weeks. So, I mean, which is it? Had you spoken to him or not?
Yeah, you're never going to know, are you, really? Who's telling the truth?
It does feel like, to me, Trossard's just saying what he thought would get him a move, rather than the fact that he said, he hadn't spoken to me for weeks, but I told him I had an injury and that's why I left training. It just feels more like he took his ball and went home, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we move on to Chelsea? Because I think we could be here a while on Chelsea. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we better get on soon. We'll start with their outs. Jorginho, obviously, we've covered before. Actually, and Malo Gusto, they just signed for 30 million euros from Olympic Lyon, went back on loan to Lyon for the rest of the season. What are your thoughts on Jorginho, by the way, Seamus? Because like we never got your thoughts on him.
It's a brilliant move for Arsenal, obviously, because they signed one of the three best players in 2022, was it, or 2021? 2021.
Who? Sorry, we asked about Jorginho, mate.
Yeah, didn't he finish like third or something in Ballon d'Or?
Yeah. Wasn't he the best? Didn't they rate him as the best? UEFA had him as the best midfielder
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Europe. That's,
UEFA best player,
yeah, but he didn't
best
even.
player and best midfielder.
Yeah, but he didn't even make the team of the season. Like in midfield, which at all, he didn't make their team of the season. So how is he the best midfielder in Europe if he doesn't make the team of the season? And it's just sometimes you just sit there and you think, what the fuck? How does that work? I mean, if he's the best midfielder, surely he's got to be in the best team of the season. So
I
seriously,
mean, it's okay.
do you think it's a good? Because I think it's a great signing for Chelsea, getting rid of him joining Arsenal. I think it's great for Man City as well because it gives them a chance now. But what do you think, Seamus? Seriously, do you rate him? Billy thinks he's good.
I think it's okay.
I think he's useless.
Fair enough then.
Yeah,
Be honest.
let's get off the fence, Seamus. Come on, tell us what you really think.
I think the only use they can have of him is in case they get into a penalty shootout.
Oh yeah, he's good at penalties.
Surprisingly good, I would
Takes a
say.
great penalty.
Got good
Yeah.
No, he
striking
doesn't
technique.
take a great. No, he's not. He doesn't take a good penalty if keepers can wait. Basically, he makes keepers make the first move
Yeah, and then slots
with
it in.
that hop
That's a good
hop and
penalty.
strike technique. No, yeah, but if the keepers practice to time the jump properly, then it's very easy to save his penalty. Same with Bruno as well when he goes for the hop and kick technique.
Hmm. Yeah, I much prefer the Shearer style. Just put it in the corner.
Whack it.
Yeah, with pace in the corner. That's the best kind of penalties.
Well, if it works for him, then maybe it works for him.
Yeah, but it always scares me because it only takes one keeper to save it, and somebody else watches it, sees what he's done, and the next one does as well. Once it goes usually in those kind of when you do something like that. Yeah. Anyway, should we move on to their ins anyway? Because there's quite a few of them. Obviously, they've spent like what $500 million now. Yes. Something like that was what.
380 million, I believe is the figure up to now.
Yeah. No, in this season, it's £500 million.
Oh, is it right?
Pounds, yeah.
I mean, in this window,
It's
just in this window.
something like 300 million in this window, roughly. But that's not counting add-ons, obviously. That's the actual outgoings now. So there's Enzo Fernandez, 100 million from Benfica. Mikhailo Mudryk from Shakhtar Donetsk. So,
80
whatever it
million
is.
money.
No, well that's with add-ons, mate. It's like 60 million plus 20 million and add-ons to come, which are easily achievable.
Right,
That's
okay.
the thing. Badishili from Monaco, over 30 million. Madueke from PSV Eindhoven, 30 million. Malo Gusto from Olympic Lyon, nearly 30 million. Andre Santos from Vasco da Gama is like 10 million. Datro Fofana from Molde, another 10 million. And then João Felix from Atletico Madrid on loan for the rest of the season, nearly 10 million on that one alone. Just on his loan fee, plus wages, like.
Yeah. It's a lot of money, isn't it?
I mean, those Fernandez is a huge outlay for a player who's had 6 good months. It's a big risk.
Yeah.
It might be a brilliant signing, like, because he looks a fabulous player. Mudryk looks a fabulous player. Badiashile looks a fabulous player. But, you know, and the thing I don't like is, as well as them doing the, obviously they're doing the 8-year thing to spread the payments out over it, but it does put them in, you know, in a position where they're paying for it 8 years in the account, so they're hamstrung for the next 8 years. They've got that outgoing to come. So it limits what they can spend in future windows under FFP rules.
Be false economy, yeah. Very much so. False economy. If you've got to pay for them for 8 years.
Yeah. Also, the wages are on the books for 8. You know, they've got a huge. If any of these flop, they're stuck with them, because nobody's going to pay the money, are they? That they've received. They're going to, you know, they're going to make a loss, and they probably end up having to pay their wages. It just reminds me of Peter Ridsdale. What's going on at Chelsea just reminds me of Peter Ridsdale at Leeds, to be honest. That's how I see it. It's the Peter Ridsdale. This is exactly what he did. You know, paid for players over a huge, you know, over a lengthy period of time. Paid big sums, paid big wages to get them in, and well, we know how that worked out. And the other thing is the young. Now, that in most cases you say decent age. You know, they've got the age to improve and all that. But this is Chelsea, who have got the best youth system, probably in Europe, possibly even the world. They've got fantastic players coming through it. What chance are any of those guys getting a game now?
Not much.
Not
much at all.
And if you suddenly if young players now, their parents look at it and go, look at the Chelsea squad now and what's going on. And you're looking at which you know, your kid's good enough to go to any. If it's good enough to go to the Chelsea academy, he's going to be good enough to go to any of the academies in the area easily, because like I said, it's the top academy. So he's now going to, you know, if you're his dad or his mum, and you're looking at, you're going to go, he's not got a chance. There's no future there. I mean, all they do is send them out on loan, send them out on loan, and now they've just bought, you know, anyway, and now they've just bought hundreds of players in. You know, let's send our Jimmy let's send him to Arsenal or Tottenham or somewhere else where he's actually got a chance. I mean, at Tottenham, you look at their midfield. He's 6 years old. He could probably walk into their midfield now. Let's get him there. You know? So
yeah. Oh, I can see how that's going to be a problem.
And for me, Chelsea's biggest thing is their academy is so good, and it's so frustrating to watch them just not give enough of them a chance. And the ones, you know, and so many of them, they just sell off. When at the minute they give them a few games, they just get rid of them then to buy somebody else. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Billy, you go on this now. I'm gonna shut up now. I think I've ranted enough. I think you should take some on this one.
We don't have it yet.
Not yet, mate. I just thought you might want to put in some comment about what they've done, Chelsea, before we go to Seamus and he tells.
No, just I'd just reiterate what you said. I think it's false economy. They're putting all these players on the 8-year contracts, 7-year, 8-year contracts, and as you say, if they don't turn out, you're stuck with them. You're going to be paying for 7 years wages and the fee, and I think it's a bit of bad economy, and I think it'll be put an end to. I know they've got away with it, but I think Liverpool would have been trying to do the same sort of thing with Bellingham because of their financial situation, and I think the loophole will close. I think it's already been talked of it now, closing.
But I mean, it's one thing to do it for one player, but they've done it for all of them. It's for one big signing. Like if Man United had done it to get Ronaldo back at, you know, £100 million they'd had to pay for him or whatever, you know, or when Mbappe went to PSG, that's a different thing. One player that's obviously, you know, doing it for Fernandes, for instance, get it, brilliant, right? You know, that's fine. But doing it for everyone, like I said, that's the Ridsdale. That's the Ridsdale way of doing it. Sorry,
I can see why you're saying
that. You two go. Seamus, take over.
I think it's very stupid to paid about 100 million in profit to Benfica for Enzo. It's
Yeah,
just so
I do.
for 6 months, because 6 months ago you could have had him for, let's say, instead of the 18 however much million he moved to Benfica for, you could have, I'm pretty sure you could have had him for what, 20 million. I'm pretty sure they could have got him for 20 million, right?
Oh,
And if they weren't aware of him 6 months ago, then what the hell is this scouting system doing?
yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah, I
it
can
was.
see
I think
that.
it was 12 million. I think they paid Benfica. But the thing is, before we start saying that that's it, you've got to remember that he was a kid coming out of Argentina. The work permit situation is different from Benfica. Benfica will be able to get a work permit, no problem. Chelsea sign him straight from there. They're going to struggle to get him a work permit. They know what I
Yeah,
mean.
Right.
that is why I didn't say they could have signed him for 8 million.
Hmm.
They could have
Right.
signed him for somewhere around 20-25 odd million.
Yeah, it would have.
And even if they couldn't get him a work permit straight away, if there is one club in the world that knows how to exploit the loan system,
Hmm.
it is Chelsea. They could have loaned him to, let's say, Vitesse Arnhem if they still have that arrangement they had before, or many other clubs. They seem to have very good relationship when it comes to loaning out young players.
Yeah, exactly. You would
Right.
think they'd got away round it if anyone did, but their
They could have loaned
recruitment.
him to Benfica for hell's sake.
Hmm. But their recruitment's been poor in recent years until so there has been sea change this season.
It's just too much money for someone who's only just moved to Europe.
Yeah, I think so as well, dude.
Like
And it's just
Caicedo,
too
six
much
months.
pressure. They could have gotten Caicedo for much cheaper than Enzo, and Caicedo would still be called overpriced.
Hmm.
And yet he would be player moving from Premier League, so needn't worry as much about settling in, coming back to work with a coach he already has relationship with.
Hmm. Oh,
So many things would would point to Caicedo, just as I'm just throwing him as an example,
do you,
not saying he's the one they should have gotten.
yeah, but I was just thinking, do you think there was an agreement between Chelsea and Brighton when they took Potter for him not to come in for play? You know what I mean? If they
Yeah,
said
but
no,
what did Chelsea did? Wasn't it reported that Chelsea bid somewhere around 50-55 million for Caicedo as well?
yeah, but what I mean is they might have been told, they could only bid if they might have been only if the Brighton were willing to sell. You know what I mean? They basically that's why they straight away as soon as they rather than just keep arguing like they did with Fernandez and keep going back and trying to get a deal done. That might be why they didn't return with a bigger offer for him. That's what I mean. Brighton turned around and said we don't want to sell him. Okay, we'll leave you alone then because we've got an agreement. So I was wondering if they had like a deal in hand, where they wouldn't push for any of their players they didn't want to sell.
Don't you think that people just put an extra 10 million on because it's Chelsea? If Chelsea come in for you, if the average is 60, you ask for 80 because it's Chelsea. I think that's happening with Chelsea for a long while. And they made some really bad signings, haven't they? Buying Lukaku back, how much, 100 million?
Yeah.
Then send them out on loan. I don't know how they're doing it financially. They must have really good businessmen there because how they're not in breach of FFP, I don't know. Because they seem to be spending a lot of money.
Yeah, remember they had one season where they weren't allowed to make any signings.
Yeah.
and
Frank was there, yeah.
yeah, and they sold lots of players. You know, they sell a lot of players because they have that huge loan army and they make money off them for loaning them out. That's when that's the thing is they were so focused on this all these loan players. You know, these players they're buying to sell for a profit and making a profit. They weren't really. They didn't seem to be looking at the higher, the right players for the team. They seemed to be so focused on players that they could just, looking for bargains that they could send out on loan around the place.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's got to come to an end, hasn't it? They can't go on like they are. And especially, we're talking about it before, they're going to hamstring themselves by paying on these long contracts. That's going to go against them, not this year, but it will the next year, the next year, the next year, and the next year. They're going to be in a position where they're not going to be able to buy because they're spending out so much that's guaranteed. Yeah, but they're going to lose money.
Well, it won't be these players they'll be selling it. It'll be the likes of Conor Gallagher and that. I mean, if you're Mason Mount now, you got to be wondering about your future, aren't you?
Yeah, of course you have, yeah.
Yeah, so only time will tell with them, like who gets picked. I mean, Potter does well, so done well in the past, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Since we're on about Chelsea, should we mention about Hakim Ziyech?
Yeah, that was a bit of a shock up, wasn't it? Yeah. Never got the transfer through in time. People blaming each other.
If the reports are true, then it's a worrying sign for Chelsea. You can't be sending the paper wrong 3 times in a row for a player you don't want to keep at the club.
Yeah. Even once is pretty bad.
Once it's forgivable, it's understandable. Sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
Human error and all, but 3 times. If it is true, it's true.
Yeah, it's one of those where I'd really like to know. Apparently, he's supposed to have actually phoned up the owner, Bowley, to ask him to get the paperwork, please. He was apparently begging Bowley to sort out the paperwork for him to leave, which is really not good, isn't it? When you've got a player that's so desperate to leave, he's phoning up the owner and begging him to get the move through. That's a really worrying sign.
Yeah.
He's not a very good player though. Anyway, that's the other thing. I mean, what the PSG wanted him for? Am I the only one that doesn't understand that? I mean, they've got Messi, Mbappe, Neymar. You know what I mean? Surely they don't need another forward.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. Right, we've done Chelsea. What are we on to next, Tris?
Next, sorry, I'm going to check it. Nothing load up. Crystal Palace is next. Sorry, it wasn't loading.
Right, they haven't done much, have they, Palace?
Well, they brought it over. Sorry, start with the outs, of course, yeah. Right, outs.
Go on.
Just a few on loan. Luke Plans, Jack Butland to Man United, and Malcolm Ebuwe to Hull City. And Luke Plans went to Lincoln City. Not really anything in there, nothing of interest. I mean, Butland's just going to Man United to be a backup keeper, something he had to delete a tweet where he said he'd never do that in his career. When he was asked about, honestly, this is the thing. It was when he was at Stoke and he was asked if he'd go to Man United to be a backup to David De Gea at the time as well, of all things. And he said, "I'd never go anywhere to be a backup keeper." That was his exact words, and it was about Man United. And once he had, I mean, famous last words and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bless him. Yeah,
There's interest.
Well, they brought in Lokonga on loan from Arsenal. Plant came back off loan for them, went back. So the other one is Ahamada from Nauri Ahamada from Stuttgart for 10 million. Was their only permanent signing. Young central midfielder. So they brought in a couple of central midfield reinforcements. They haven't really done much. And they're in a worrying position because they're in a bit of free fall, aren't they, at the moment? Not playing well, in terrible form. Yeah, I'd be quite worried if I was them, to be honest. What do you think, Seamus?
Yeah, they could easily get sucked in, couldn't they? I think Palace.
Yeah, exactly.
Into the relegation.
What do you think of their signings?
So maybe then. Go on, mate.
What do you think of their signings, Bill? Do you think either of them are
I don't know the lads you just mentioned last there, but the others, a bit wishy-washy for me. They're obviously going to strengthen them a little bit, but I think they might have needed a bit more if they wanted to get safe. But they mightn't have the money. I don't know where they are financially. But I think they have to bring more in than what they have if they're going to get well clear of the relegation spots. I think they're in a bit of trouble. And I think he's done well as well. I like Vieira. I think he's done well. But if you haven't got the players, you're going to struggle. And that's the same for every club. And I don't think they brought in what I'd call, names that might get you out of trouble. So I don't think it's been a great window for them at all.
Seamus, anything to add?
I don't know if I'm missing someone off the top of my head, but I think Crystal Palace need a right back and a striker, and neither of those positions were strengthened.
Yeah, but they can't.
So I don't know what. Yeah.
I was going to say they can't upset Zaha by bringing in a striker, can they? Because then he wouldn't be the main man.
Yeah, but even then, a right back is a very crucial need as well for them, I guess. Unless I'm missing someone, because isn't it Joel Ward and Nathaniel Klein still?
Yep, and Nathaniel Klein's still one of their two fullback choices. Joel Ward, isn't it, the other one? Yeah, it's the one you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't. I'm surprised they didn't go for someone.
And maybe
yeah, as you said. Yeah. But it's not easy. Not an easy window, is it?
It's always tricky. It's always tricky trying to fill the gaps in your squad in the January window.
Well, while we're talking about tricky, shall we move on to the next team now, and we'll talk about this is a great January window now. We'll move on to Everton, who, of course, well, their signings are, Nkunku came back from loan.
Have you got the list?
Yeah, it's a long list. Give me time. I've got to get through this. Right. So, outs, we'll start with the outs. Anthony Gordon, 45. How the hell did you get 40? We'll get to that in a sec. Salomon Rondon left on a free, released. Elgin Jakupovic, free transfer to Los Angeles. And Niels Nkunku, you'd brought back off a loan Cardiff and then sent him out on loan again to Saint Etienne. You're in, right. Are you ready? This could be a while. Get yourself seated comfortably. You've moved Ellis Sims up from the under-21 squad to the first team. There you go. There's your list.
Right. Done good business, haven't we? Yeah. What an absolute disgrace as an Evertonian. We're going to get a striker, Mashiri said. If he wants a striker, we're going to get one. Load of lies. What they've done was we were supposed to be getting a new manager in. He was he was announced on the Friday or the Saturday. Never actually took his post up till 24 hours before the end of the window. No chance to get players in, really, who he wanted. If he wanted anyone, I don't know. I'm guessing here. What's Thelwell doing? Everyone's asking me. What's Kevin Thelwell doing? He's supposed to be the director of football. You should surely have a list of names. I believe the transfer budget was only 12 million, but then they got the money, 40 million, off Newcastle for Gordon, which gives you 52 million.
Oh, hang on. Didn't they?
Go on.
Aren't you on the FFP? Haven't you got FFP issues, which means that the money would be ring fenced? This is the excuse I'm hearing. I don't know how true it is, but that was the explanation I got from within the club, was that you couldn't spend the money because simply you weren't allowed it because of your FFP issues. You have to pay down your debt or whatever. That
has been said as an excuse. How true that is, I don't know. We're ring fenced. But whatever the issue is, why weren't we after these loans that people have got? Why couldn't we get in a couple of loans to help us through to the end of the season? I'm sure there could have been deals done. You've seen some deals that have gone through.
Still like free agents.
What?
Still free agents.
Well, yeah. I believe Andre Ayew is going to be the next big thing. He's the brother of the one who is absolutely awful. So,
another Liverpool fan. Andre.
Yeah, that's all we need. Yeah. Well, I really feel.
Why don't you bring back Rafa?
I really feel sorry for Sean.
Did you see?
I want to show. Go on.
Well, for starters, the fact they waited so long to appoint him when they must have known he was going to be appointed long before. It was the only possible option. I mean, they've done this deliberately to make sure they didn't spend any money in the window, in my opinion. But, I mean...
Of course they have, yeah.
Making him change his tie because he had a red tie on to go with the suit. They had to find him a tie because they didn't want it, because obviously everyone knows he's a Liverpool fan, so they thought it might cause problems. Just thinking, how petty is that right now? At this moment in time, do you think any Everton fan cares who he supports right now?
Absolutely.
The only thing they care about is, will he keep them up? And if he does that, they won't give a shit if he wears a Liverpool top on the sidelines. If he keeps them up and bets them playing good football, not one Everton fan will give a shit what he does right now, will they? Let's be honest. In the position you're in, you just don't care.
No, and I don't think he's got enough to work with. That's Everton at the moment. I hope I'm wrong, but he might, people are saying, he's still got players there to work with. Where, I don't know, unless he's going to change the attitude of the whole club, which is an absolute mess at the moment. But it's going to start up again on Saturday against Arsenal. The crowd are going to be baying for the board's blood again, and it's a nasty time at Everton at the moment for everyone. And they've shown nothing, though, Tris. They've shown nothing that they care about the club, that I'll get you a player in, we'll get, it doesn't matter who it is, get someone, Danny Ings for 12 million, 10 million or 12 million. I'm not sure whether he'd come, but there was things like that, that could have been done. Little loans, doesn't matter. A few fresh faces to freshen things up.
Yeah, I think you needed to do something, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely, Trish, yeah.
Seamus, I've got to ask you got any insight, with you being in the fashion world and that, you might have been on the catwalk with Calvert-Lewin or Tom Davies or one of them, because they're obviously always at these fashion shows and that. Do you have any insight to how they, have you heard anything from among your fellow models? Have they discuss this at all?
Can I just take a few seconds out, boys? Just got to make a phone call. Hang on a sec.
Oh, hey up. Do we want to know what he's talking? Can we listen in? He usually forgets to turn the sound off, doesn't he? You still there, Seamus? Oh, hey, he's gone. Just leave me on my own, right? Oh, I've got to talk about it, right? This is talk about dropping me in the shit here. Thanks, lads. So Everton, they made a mess of it. They've held up an appointment they should have made long before. Seamus and myself have been champion Sean Dyche long before. I think he's exactly what they need. He's not. No, he might not produce the best football, but he's what they needed. They just need someone to get them in and playing as a team again and working hard. I've got to say, you do worry. The team looks. I mean, Billy was saying he doesn't think there's enough to work with there, but I actually think they've got a fairly decent squad there for it to avoid a relegation battle. I don't think there's any more than that, but I think it's good enough to avoid a relegation battle. Seamus, are you there yet? Fuck's sake! My God, why is everyone just abandoned this? I feel like is this like a wind-up? And they're probably both sat there sniggering now, leaving me to do this on my own. So yeah, it's just a mess, isn't it? I mean, the Gordon Sale, good riddance to him. I think he wasn't really playing very well. He doesn't look. I don't understand the signing from Newcastle's perspective, but there's no point talking about that now. We'll talk about that later. It's just, yeah, I just think they seem to be a bit of a mess, and they're in trouble. So, what else can I say about Everton? Really, I mean, they've got to be looking at some free agents. I mean, I don't know about Isco. I wouldn't touch him with a barge pole, though. I know quite a few people are calling for him to come in. I don't see that. I think that would be a terrible signing, apart from the fact he's overweight. He's just not that good, in my opinion. I don't understand it. Yeah, God, I'm really reaching here now. Thanks for that, you two. Where the... I mean, are they doing this? Is this like a wind-up? The pair of them on the... Just doing this, just left me, just buggered off and left me on my own when it's in the middle of the... I tell you what, I'm going to just move on to Fulham and we can go back to Everton when the pair of them return, I think. Because they've just abandoned me, so I'll move on to Fulham. They released Josh Onomah. He went on to join Preston on a free. Nathaniel Chalobah went to West Brom. I think he's on loan, but it's not certain. Anthony Knockaert went off to Huddersfield on loan after coming back from Greece, from a loan spell in Greece. And what else did you... Oh, Inns, sorry. Now, they signed Sasa Lucic from Torino. I wonder if he's any relation to John. A lot less than 10, about 8 million they've spent on him. Shane Duffy from Brighton. I don't understand that signing, he's crap. And Cedric Soares from Arsenal on loan. Well, fairly, I suppose if he's playing regularly, he can be a decent one, but there's nothing really there to say they're gonna do. But they're doing well enough, aren't they? I don't think they really needed to do much. They just needed to keep it together, really, didn't they, and keep going. So, it's not really a lot to say about them. Marco Silva seems to have the knack of doing well for one season, and whether he can keep it together for a second is always the issue. I mean, he did similar with Hull and similar with Everton. Yeah, of all teams. So I'll move on to Leeds, I think, next. They're surprisingly busy. I mean, only signed 3 players, but like still for Leeds in January, they're under the ownership of Radrizzani. The fans just seem to think he doesn't do anything. So it was quite unusual. So out Cody Drammer to Luton Town on loan, Joe Gellert to Sunderland on loan, both for them young players that could do with the regular football, so it's decent. Oh, who's that back? Neither of you? One of you back? No. Okay. Matthias Klich went off to the MLS to play for DC United. He went for a free transfer, and they managed to get a loan fee of... Oh, shit. Welcome back, Bill. You alright? Oh, no. Are you there? Oh.
Hello?
Oh.
Hello?
Ah, there we go.
Sorry, boys, about that.
Sorry, Seamus had abandoned me as well. I was I had no idea what to say. I was lost. Completely just blew me. Oh, no.
Right, Chris, give us your opinion on what happened at Everton, what didn't happen at Everton, should I say, and what you think should have happened this window.
Well, I mean, it was clear that in the World Cup window they should have got rid of Frank Lampard. I mean, to be honest, he should never have been appointed in the first place. But they made the chance that he was terrible decision. It was clearly not working. They were in terrible form. They gave him too long. It wasn't going. It was getting worse and worse and worse, and they just kept leaving it. And then when they did get rid of him, they left it too late to appoint a successor to actually do anything in the transfer window. And to me, it just seems like a deliberate ploy. I can't see any other reason for it.
People are saying that to us. People are saying that to me for the simple reason that he took 4 days before they announced that, and he was the only contender at the time because Bielsa pulled out, and then it took 4 days to announce them and to parade him as manager of Everton Football Club. Why did it take 4 days when everyone knew he was going to be the manager?
What the announcements were taken for?
The only thing is what you said. I know. The club's an absolute mess.
It took them days to confirm they'd sacked Lampard when everyone already knew.
Yeah.
But I was going to say the thing is, what I look at it is that the problem is, for me, is that Usmanov's no longer got any money because of these sanctions, and since then you're in trouble. And to me that's what's happened here. This is why everything's going wrong. There's no money in the pot now.
No, there is no. Money aside. Right, why couldn't we have done a couple of deals to get a lone player in? I'm not talking about big money. I'm talking about buttons to sign a lone player. They were even talking about that Ziyech. The club are making statements that they're going in for these players. And they're getting the crowd up. Say, at least we're trying. And he weren't trying at all. What Kevin Thelwell's doing, I don't know. Why he doesn't just walk if he hasn't got no authority whatsoever to sign players. What's he doing at the club? What's Moshiri and Kenwright doing? And these are questions that people are asking me. What's happening at the club? Why are we not even trying to do a deal? And I go with what you say. I think it's contrived. I think we're in trouble financially, but I think they've given up on the club. I really do. Because they don't even seem to be trying.
Do you not feel that now they're using Kenwright as a what's the word I'm looking for? As a as the public face, so that basically he takes all the flack rather than they do.
Very possibly, but he's been part of the problem, Bill. I'm afraid. I've always supported him, that. But he's got to leave the club now. He's had his time. He's done great in the when he took over from Agent Johnson and all that lark, and he kept the club afloat basically at the time. But it's turned out that he's very limited in what he can actually do for Everton Football Club. And name a stand after him, build him a statue or whatever, but he's got to leave the club. He's been great for the club, but not for a number of years. And the club has to move on. And I'm afraid Bill's got to go as well. I think Moshiri's got to go. I think Barrett Baxendale has got to go. And obviously, I wouldn't know how to get them out. How do you get a board, an owner out of a club? But something's got to change at Everton Football Club. Otherwise, we're going to end up in the Championship and then possibly to Division 1, the way things are looking at the moment. My only hope is that Sean Dyche can get a tune out of the players he's got. He's stuck with them. But we are now weaker because Gordon's gone. Not much weaker, I'll give you that. But we are weaker than what we actually were before the window. And for a club, I said about Palace before, they had to buy a bit more if they wanted to survive. Do Everton want to survive? I don't know. I really doubt it at the moment.
It's the whole thing. I mean, yeah. I mean, what do you do? To get rid of them, the only way you can do it is to buy them out. And who's going to buy out a club that's in such a financial mess?
No one. That's the problem, Trust. Who's going to take on Everton? You see all this bad media about the supporters threatening players, putting people in headlocks, which is all lies, of course. But you know, it's a negative press. Everything's negative about the club. We're not going forward. We're going backwards at a rate of knots, and we're not even value for a buyer to come in. Who's going to take over Everton at the moment and invest good money or try and buy Moshiri out? I can't see anyone doing it.
I think there's just no value in it because especially as the stadium's still being built.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
If the stadium was complete or was needed completely starting from fresh, but like you've got no real potential for profit there, have you? So
no. We're in such a bad position, Chris. I'd only hope with Sean Dyche, but as you said before, he should have been brought in before the World Cup started, so as he could have at least 5 weeks to get to know the team, get to know the club, and get in line with Thelwell, come up with a list of players he wants to sign, and move on from there. But nothing's happened, Trish. Nothing has happened at the club. And that's the worst thing you can do is nothing.
It's come a long way from the days when Bill Kenwright used to boast about other clubs would look at Everton and say that's what would Everton, when they were trying to make decisions, would look at Everton and say what would Everton do, which was nonsense at the time anyway. We all knew it was nonsense.
Yeah, but they were bigging up the club because they did have a bit of a reputation. Now they've got a reputation, but not one that you'd want.
Yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, you just you'd look at Everton and go, what would they do? Let's do the opposite.
Absolutely, you would, Trish. Yeah, and I wouldn't blame anyone for saying that because the club is an absolute disgrace at the moment, and so frustrating for supporters. You've seen it on the web, on the pages, the Everton page. They're so frustrated. They can't see no light at the end of the tunnel. Where you might say, "Oh yeah, we brought a player in there who might give us a bit of a lift." There's nothing at the club, and our only saving grace is that Sean Dyche might be able to turn us into a Burnley and help fight our way out and build from there. That's the only ray of hope that we can look for. But we've got 2 games coming up against Arsenal and Liverpool, and I can't see us getting a point out of them 2. I'll be honest with you. Possibly Liverpool might get. Might get a point out of them, but I can't really even see that, to be honest with you. There's such a gulf in ability of players, and it's going to kick off again then, because if we get adrift, we're not coming back. And, you know, you only need a couple of teams down there, Southampton, to go above us, and we're bottom of the league then. And once you get adrift by 3 points, 4 points, whatever it's going to be, you're in trouble. You're in real trouble. And if they go down, I can't see them coming back up straight away. I hope I'm wrong, but that's what it looks like from the supporters' point of view.
Yeah, if you go down, you're in real trouble. But then again, people were saying the same thing when Sean Dyche took over Burnley. They were in real trouble. They were having to sell just to survive, let alone, to have a chance of competing. They decimated the squad to stay, stay in existence, and he still managed to get them up that season. So maybe you'll be all right. I think he's the only chance you've got, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so too. I thought he was the only chance 10 weeks ago. I thought, but I thought they'd do the sensible thing and say, listen, Frank, thanks very much for your tenure at the club. You tried your best. It wasn't good enough. We're going to replace you, which should have happened before the World Cup. Give him 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks, know the players, know the club, make up a list with Kelwell, who you want. And it just hasn't happened. So, we're in a terrible state. And to be honest with you, it's hard to look forward as an Evertonian to the new stadium, because it's more than likely at the moment that it's going to be in the Championship. We're going to be in the Championship even when it gets finished.
That's the worrying thing, isn't it? With that stadium, it could end up being a white elephant, like.
I think it's come too far to be a white elephant, to be honest with you. There is investors who want to come in on the stadium. So I think it will get finished.
Oh, no, white elephant doesn't mean it won't get finished. It just means it'll be you won't need it.
Right.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Like a bit like the what's that dome they did in Millennium Dome or whatever they did in London. Basically, they were desperately trying to find things to use it for afterwards because nobody wanted it. You know what I mean? It's gonna be
I know what you mean. Yeah.
If you're down in the Championship, will you fill it? Probably not.
I think there's a hardcore of Everton supporters who would still go, but they're not going to fill, 48, 888, I think, I don't know, 4388, to fill it. There'll still be a crowd there, but it's not going to be like it should be, if you're still in the Premiership.
Yeah, exactly.
And once the parachute payment goes, after the first parachute payment, then it's just, and the FFP is just as bad, if not worse, in the Championship. We're still going to be hamstrung for a few years because of the bad decisions that's being made at board level.
Yeah, you've got a massive house clearing operation in. Basically, you've got to, because there's no way you can keep hold of the players you've got and have any chance. Yeah, I just don't see where you can go if you go down, to be honest, mate. I think you're in trouble.
No, I don't. I think so, Tris. I really do. As I say, our only slight hope is that Sean Dyche turns things around and gets the play. There are players at Everton that can get you out, but they need leadership, they need guidance, and they need to, show a lot more than they have done this season. If Dyche can get them working, I believe we've got the slightest chance of avoiding relegation. And if he does, it'll be a miracle. An absolute miracle by Sean Dyche if he does it. I'm not saying he will, but he could.
He's the only one I can think of who you would actually say stands a chance. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah, so I think
I agree with you.
You've got your best chance. There's not a lot more you can do. Is there any free transfer players out there you think you'd like the club to take a chance on?
Well, there's been talks of Isco, who's now a free agent, apparently. Maybe wanting to get approached. Whether he'd come to Everton is another matter. He's 30. But, someone like him would give the club a lift. The other one mentioned was Andre Ayew, I wouldn't want at the club anyway. I think he's bloody awful. He's playing his trade over in the Emirates somewhere, over in Abu Dhabi or wherever it is.
He's a free
And
agent.
they're the only two. Yeah, he's a free agent, but would he add anything to the squad? I can see why he'd want Isco, of course, but
Really?
what would? Well, yeah, I'd take Isco.
Have you seen
I
him
really
lately?
would. I haven't seen him lately, no, but he was a good player.
Was he? I'm not. I've got to say, I've never been convinced by Isco. I think he's one of the most average and ridiculously overrated players I've ever seen. I never thought he was any good, particularly. I didn't understand why Real Madrid bought him. But now he's like 3 stone overweight, completely unfit, doesn't try.
Is he? Yeah. I haven't
Oh.
seen it. I'm going on his reputation. Playing for Real Madrid. If you can sign someone for playing, and he was all right at Madrid, to be honest. What I seen, I scored at Madrid, he was all right.
But
But as you say, he's gone downhill. There's a reason for why he's not. Why he let him go down on a
he's
free.
not good in training. I was very surprised. Union Berlin went for him, and they had a deal agreed, and it fell through because at the last minute he's already, they've negotiated terms and all that. He had his medical, sat him down, right, well, sign the contract, and he come up, we wanted more money. And they just said, no, we've got our limits. We've offered you basically as much as we can afford. We can't afford to offer you any more. You know this. We told you this at the time, so sorry, bye bye.
Yeah.
And cancelled the, and the deal fell through because he demanded more money.
All I'm looking for is
attitude.
it does show a bad attitude. All I'm looking for is something to give their supporters a bit of hope. Sign a player, any player except Andrew Ayew, but try and get a player in. Try and get a player in who might just make the difference. That's all we're asking for.
Except the players we're talking to.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, anybody but the one we're showing interest in.
I believe there was loan deals out there that we could have got. There's and some. 5 million, 8 million players. The club apparently had a budget of 12 million for the. That's what I heard anyway. Got told that they had 12 million. That's all they had in the kitty. Then Gordon went. So, but as you were saying before about being hamstrung with the FFP, that they couldn't spend any of it. But he still had a budget. It wasn't a big budget. Why not get a player in? Get a loan player in, pay him good money. Players at the end of the career.
Well, in the position you're in, you need bodies for starters because you've got your squad's not strong. Why not get? Just as an example, there's players around the league, young players that need first team football. But why not go to someone like Liverpool, Man United, or Man City? I know you're going to say, oh, well, you wouldn't want a player from Liverpool, but Ben Doak, he may be only a kid, but so was Rooney when he burst through and made a difference for you. He's close enough, then he can be back. That Liverpool can keep an eye on him, get him back for training regularly as well at Liverpool. Now, okay, I know that's not ideal, but in the situation you're in. You just need a player who can provide something different. You haven't got any quality, you know what I mean? You have someone like him who could just come in and the wages, even if you had to pay his full wages, it's not going to cost you a lot. It's going to be within your wage budget. It's probably less than Gordon, I would think.
But we asked for Man United for the lad who begins with the M. Malanga, what's his name? The winger for Manchester United.
Yeah, but he played the one that played last night.
Yeah. No. Begins with the M. I can't think of his name. Young bloke, winger.
I'm trying to think who else.
Malanga, is his name Malanga or something like that?
Anthony Elanga, that is. You're thinking of. No.
It begins with M. I'm sure it's dead. I can't even think of his name.
Look at their squad because that might help. They've got Sancho, Elanga, Garnacho,
No, none of them.
Palestri, Mason Greenwood. Fucking hell.
Yeah, Mason Greenwood, yeah.
That'd be just right, wouldn't it? Fucking hell.
Yeah.
That's worrying. He could be back. Yeah, are you sure you're not? Zidane? Oh no, he's mid. He said Mainu's midfield centre.
I can't think of the lad's name. Anyway,
Edgia,
it could have been Alan.
I thought you might be thinking of Medjbury or whatever it's pronounced.
I can't think of the lad. But anyway, he wants to get him from Man United. They applied to get him, apparently, and he turned us down. Who wouldn't turn Everton down? But as you say, why didn't he apply to even get a decent championship player? Like Diaz from Blackburn, who's gone to Villarreal now, from Blackburn. And, why not try and get him on loan with the view to buying him permanent?
That Villarreal thing was happening a long time ago. That's been
was it right?
Yeah, he's been letting his contract run down to get it to go there.
Yeah, because I know he was at the end of his contract. So
yeah, that was.
But players like that, there's a lad from Coventry who was supposed to be after goal scoring sensation. Yeah.
Victor
he looks a good kid, by the way.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, supposed to be interested in him for 21 million. So there was obviously been a budget there, or was it just pie in the sky? Had he just telling more lies? Probably.
I think they're just trying to get them, get the media going to keep the fans off their back a bit, and then they'll come out and say we tried to sign these players. But like I said, the players. You look at the teams around you. The three top clubs around you. Man City must have quite a few quality players in their youth ranks. That you can say to them they can go. They can get back, come back regularly for testing, see how they're doing. You can keep a close eye on them in training because it's only down the road.
Yeah.
And we'll give them games till the end of the season. We're in a position where we've got to take a chance on players. You could assign two youngsters. Just attack-minded ones, because obviously, that's where you needed them.
Yeah, that's where the biggest thing is. Yeah, midfielder and an attacker.
Let's just go and we'll give them a run. Surely it's to the benefit of both the player, the selling, the other club, and your team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, everyone.
And I can't understand why it wasn't done to us, and that's why I'm questioning Thelwell now. He's the director of football. He's the one involved in the transfer dealings. Why isn't there a list that he's got of players who'd be available to come and join Everton to give us a boost?
I mean, if there's problems, you've got to be creative. That's what you're there for. That's why you've got someone who's just there to deal with recruitment. He should be able to come up with something, even if it means, doing something, pulling a surprise out the bag. If that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. If you have to be creative about it and go to get players that nobody else
will consider. The routes, You've got to go down all the routes. But for someone who's two key signings in the summer, besides Onana, was Neil Maupay and Dwight McNeil, you're not going to have much faith in people, are you? Like that?
Well, exactly. I mean, if I know people are saying, they're Frank Lampard. It's funny how everyone defending Kevin Thelwell says it's Frank Lampard signings. Well, yeah, but Thelwell's the man who in charge of the recruitment. So if he didn't want them, he could have put his foot in. If they're being chosen over his head by the manager, then he should have walked away.
But you look at the directors of football trusts. I know I'm going on about Everton, and I'm going to shut up about Everton in a minute because it's gotten boring now. But when you think of Marcel Brands, who come with a reputation, Steve Walsh come with a reputation, and none of them have been able to put the stamp on Everton Football Club. Now, Thelwell, you've got to think it's the board. It's above them that the problem is.
I agree in a respect, but I do think as well that partly the problem is that those three were not the right ones for the position that they're occupying.
At the time.
Steve Walsh, it was a scout, basically, and that's all he should have. He should have been a head scout, not taking charge of recruitment. He didn't. It was a step too far for them. Brands is used to a certain system, a certain way of working in Holland. The setup already. All he had to do is walk in and take over a setup that's already there and been in place for like 20 years. All he's doing is, it's a bit like the manager of Brentford. Brentford or RB, any of the RB clubs, the Red Bull clubs. They walk in, the system's all in place. All they've got to do is keep it going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, Seamus has gone. He's just gone. That's nice of him. He just vanished on me earlier when you went. He's just messaged saying he's gone. Thanks, Seamus. Thanks for that. Thanks for the help. No, it was good of him to put in an appearance. To be fair, because we didn't expect him, so it was nice. But I just wish he timed it better when he went.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't know how much I was left. Anyway, sorry. Back to.
Get away from Everton now.
Yeah, back to Brands. He was, he's brought him from a position, so maybe he just wasn't as good as he was made to seem by the system there.
Very possibly.
And then you've got Thelwell, who most Wolves fans weren't that keen on him at first. You know what I mean? They weren't. It wasn't like when he left, everyone was like gutted about him going. He wasn't. Yeah. So and has he done anything since then that made you think? I don't. He's got a reputation, but again, he was at RB, Red Bull stuff. I mean, it's all there in place. He doesn't have to do anything special. You know what I mean? He's just taken over a system that's there. I mean, I don't know. I think I think the problem is the board, definitely 100%, because they're making the choices to employ these people, but it's poorly researched choices, and that's the issue. It's not just that the board's terrible, they're researching their choices badly. They're not doing enough research to find the right people and realising why these people might not be the right choice and to look elsewhere. Badly advised, and I mean, it all does come back to the board, but also I do think you've had the wrong people in the wrong positions. I think Sean Dyche is the first sign that is the first thing you've got right since Usmanov bought the club.
And he's second choice, by the way, because if Bielsa would have wanted the job, he'd have been in place.
I love Bielsa, but I don't see that as the right choice.
Not for Everton at this time, no.
No, that's what I mean.
He even said himself, give me them, and they might go down for the first season to try and do something with them. And then I'll start afresh next season, whether it be in the Championship. And they said no to him. So he wasn't the right choice, because we haven't got the energy in the side that Bielsa needs. And he could see that he couldn't do nothing with this set of players that he's got. And he's not going to put himself on the chopping block just for Everton Football Club. You know what I mean? So I like Bielsa. I like this style of football. But he's not the right man for Everton at this time. The only one that I've ever wanted, because the state of the club, is Sean Dyche.
I think he's the right choice.
Yeah, I've got to put all my faith in him and hope he can get a tune out of these players. Whether he can, will be interesting to see.
Should we move on?
So let's finish with Everton.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think I'd actually just moved on anyway, so I'd done a couple just because I didn't really want to do Everton without you. So we'll go on. I was on to Leeds. I'd just done the outs. They'd sent Cody Drama and Joe Geller, a couple of youngsters out on loan to Championship clubs. MLS side DC United took Matthias Klich on a free transfer. And Diego Llorente left to join AS Roma loan with a view to buy for €500,000, which seems like a good deal for Leeds to me, because he's certainly not good in the Premier League. He's been awful for them.
Yeah.
And they brought in Jorginho Rutter, a centre. They desperately needed a striker. It brought him in. I don't see Gnonto's not in this list. Didn't they sign him? Did they sign him before January? They signed him in the summer.
I'm not sure, Tris. I think they did in the summer.
Right,
it was.
I couldn't remember. So Rutter, they brought in young striker from Hoffenheim. Maximilian Vober, left back or centre back from RB Salzburg, and Weston McKennie on loan for about £1 million from Juventus, which looks a good signing.
That's another one we could have gone for. You know, I'm sorry to go back to Everton, but you know, that's a good. I think that's a good deal for Leeds.
Oh yeah,
Mr. McKinney. Mr. McKinney. You know, he's played at a really good level. You know, so
looks better suited to the Prem than he did to Serie A as well. His type of all action style, like.
Yeah, he's physical, and I think he's a decent player, by the way, and he could be a really good signing for them.
Oh, I think he'd be really. I think it's a really good signing.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think Leeds have done all right there. You know, they've definitely strengthened, haven't they? So, you know, they're trying to do something to get the club away from the relegation mire, and they've done something about it. So, good luck to Leeds. You know, at least they're trying. At least they're trying to get the club back on its feet and trying to get out of the relegation mire. And with the signings they've got, I think they've got a decent chance of doing that.
They've certainly addressed a lot of their needs. They still needed either a left back or they've bought one player who can cover both centre back and left back when they actually needed one of each. Really, I think that's the only issue. Is they probably needed at least one more player, either a specialist left back or a specialist centre back, to put Wober at left back. Yeah, I think Wober will play centre back, but they needed a left back. But yeah, apart from that, I think, and even so, even saying that, I still think it looks a good winter window to me. Good, you know, you don't often get everything you want in January, and they've come.
No, I think they've done okay. They've done very, very well.
Yeah, I'm impressed with what they've done. Whether they've got the manager to save them is the issue, really. I think more than the players now.
Yeah. They do look fit. I will say that about Leeds. They do look fit. I don't think they've got the greatest squad, but they do work hard and they are all fit. You know, you see them running a hell of a lot. You know, the enthusiasm there in the side. I'm not a fan of Jesse Marsh, but they are a fit bunch of lads, and they will give you the game lead.
Is that a hangover from Bielsa, or is that Jesse Marsh though? That's it.
Yeah, I'd say it's more of a hangover of Bielsa because he's the king of getting players to give their all on the pitch, and it's probably a Bielsa throwback, but you know, they've kept it going, and I'm not a fan of Jesse Marsh's style, as I've said, but they are a fit team, and it'll go a long way. If you've got players trying each week, it's half the battle.
Yeah, they certainly the best thing they can. Best thing they can. You know, the most important thing first off is you need players willing to work.
Yeah, and they do work. Leeds do work. They are a hard-working side.
Yeah, and that's what you need in a relegation battle, first and foremost. So yeah, they should.
Absolutely.
They've certainly given themselves a better chance. Now it's up to Marsh to sort it out. Should we move on to Leicester then?
Yeah, go on first. What's the outgoings?
Ayoze Perez on loan to Real Betis. All of their players went out on. They only lost 3. They went out on loan. Mark Albrighton to West Brom and George Hirst to Ipswich. So nothing really. I mean, Albrighton had lost his place. Was only a reserve really. He was in and out. He's getting on. Hirst wasn't in the team yet, and Perez just isn't very good. Was a really strange signing in the first place because he isn't a very good player really, in my opinion. Works hard, but doesn't offer anything. No, ineffective, I think is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, he hasn't got the quality really, I don't think. But,
he doesn't seem to have any end product, does he?
No.
The ins are Harry Souttar from Stoke City for about 15 million, Victor Christensen, a left back from FC Copenhagen for just over 10 million, and they took Tete, a winger from Shakhtar Donetsk, on loan. Harry Souttar, as everyone seems to like, I've not seen a lot of him.
Yeah, he's got a decent reputation.
Yeah, he's very highly regarded, but I've not seen a lot of him, so I can't really judge him. But they did need a defender. definitely needs a centre back. They all seem to get injured there. But I just, but I don't think they've done enough to actually turn their team around and get them going the right way again. For me,
No, I think they've got enough to survive because they've still
oh yeah,
got some decent players there. I think Jamie Vardy's at the end of his career, isn't he? He late starter, but and
Patson
he's had
Daka's
a
come
few
in now,
great
hasn't he?
seasons. Yeah.
Um,
But I think they've just got enough to survive. I think Leicester. I think they. I'm not. Rodgers. You're not his biggest fan. I know that, and he is a good coach, but not a good manager. And they'll have enough. I think they've sort of strengthened. I'd say just about.
Yeah, it's just whether it's enough to really turn things around. I mean, they're just looking like mid-table mediocrity at the moment. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Rather than they were, one of the better sides in the league. Now they're looking like mid-table mediocrity.
Yeah, maybe a bit lower than mid-table, I'd say, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Can't really argue with that. So we'll move on to Liverpool then. Out,
Right.
none. Nobody went out in the winter window. And ins were Reece Williams came back from his loan to Blackpool, but I doubt he's going to get anywhere near the team, let's be honest. If he does, then there's real problems. And Deep's gone. Seamus, we missed out on this one, mate. You never got your chance to say Cody Hakpo again.
Hakpo.
I got to say Cody Hakpo instead. Oh, he'll be gutted when he realises. So 30 odd million for him, nearly 40 million. Not really. It needed a midfielder and didn't get one.
Yeah, very much so. I don't know why, whether it's financial or a bit of bloody madness by Jurgen Klopp, but I thought he should have bought a midfielder maybe last year, maybe one this year as well. And they haven't really addressed that. And it's been compounded by, for me, Fabinho having his worst spell ever, I'd say. And the tactics, I don't think, have been great since the press seems to have stopped. And I know a lot of Liverpool supporters are disgruntled by it, calling for FSG's head all the time. But is it FSG's fault? Have they got no money? We know they're short on money. Or is it, is Jurgen towing the party line and saying we don't need a midfielder because you can't afford one? Or are they keeping the powder dry for the summer and going to get Bellingham and another quality player to come in?
I think part of the problem is he's looked at it and gone, well, it doesn't matter. For starters, we've got problems. We've got a squad that we've got no players. Nobody wants the players we've got. We can't get rid of the ones that we don't want. You know what I mean? The
cases, yeah.
The Oxlade-Chamberlain, nobody wants them. They're on too much money. People are just like, nah. There's nobody going to make nobody bringing in. The 6 months their contract's gone. So we're struggling to offload them. We've got the squad's too big as it is. We needed to offload players, really.
Yeah.
But I think the main issue is I don't think you can buy your way out of the problems we've got. I just don't think. We desperately need a midfielder. Yeah, but I don't think it would have turned the season round. Just don't.
No, there's been other areas. Your centre half position hasn't been great.
Yeah.
Van Dijk hasn't been the same since his injury, really. I know, he's come back and he's done well, but he hasn't been the same as he's, possibly one of the best defenders in the world at one time. And he's regressed a bit. As I say, Fabinho regressed a bit. I don't think Trent's having his best season. I think there's other players there who are not, but you've got a couple of kids there who could step up and who have stepped up in Bajcetic's, name. He's done really well. You've been impressed with him.
Who's that? Who did
Is
you
that
say?
the way to go for Liverpool?
Oh, Bayesic.
What's his name?
Bayesic.
Yeah.
Ah. It's odd.
You know,
Did you see
he's
that? Did you see that his dad played with Thiago's dad when he made
no.
he made his debut coming. He made his debut. So Bayesic's dad, I think it was, made his debut coming on in a game to play alongside Thiago's dad, and Bayesic made his professional debut coming on to play alongside Thiago. Like, you know, how weird. That's a weird
Right.
coincidence. Like, you know.
Yeah. But he's looked all right, him, hasn't he? He's
very
looked.
good.
He's been one of your bright sparks. You know,
He's
and
what
I like.
stopped.
Go
He
on.
was one of the reasons why a midfielder wasn't brought in this. You know, wasn't just desperately acquired in the summer, was because
Yeah.
they decided to give him a shot. That was one of the issues.
Yeah. But you've got another couple of good kids there. That Doak looks as
Yeah,
though he
brilliant.
could be a good kid, you know what I mean? So it's not all much doom and gloom as what people are making out at Liverpool. Yes, you do to get in the Champions League is going to be a bit of a struggle at the moment because you haven't got you can't drop Fabinho because he's your best midfielder.
Bayesic
You know,
can play there.
no. Oh yeah, he can, but you can't put that on a young kid. For me, he's going to have ups and downs. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but Fabinho's been awful. So
Yeah,
don't
I know.
if
Yes, yeah.
See, to me, the problem isn't the kid given the trust in the kid. I'm quite happy to do that. I think that's the only way they're going to learn and progress. The same way Harvey
Yeah.
Elliott has done. You know, you put him in. The problem is that you see what happens with Harvey Elliott. Curtis Jones, another one. He has a few in. He plays well, and he still gets crucified. I mean,
That's the
and
problem.
the same with
It's the
Elliott. He scores
supporters.
goals, and he's still getting abuse. You know, people are still saying.
And
And I do
I
realise
can't
when he
believe-
plays in midfield, he does leave gaps in midfield. But that's the tactics that are the problem, not the player. And that's where we're getting.
But
You know, that's where fans are blaming him for things.
murder with
that aren't.
I've had murder with the supporters on the site for the simple reason they've been getting on Elliott's back. He's a
Oh.
young kid. He gives 100% every time he plays. He scored a few important goals,
Hmm.
and they're still on his case. You know what I mean? Well, the same happened to Bastich. Well, the same happened to him.
Exactly.
You know, if he has a couple of down games, it's just not fair on the young kids for me.
Yeah,
And that's why I had to go with the supporters. I don't think they're in the real world. Just go and buy this fella for buy Casiado for 70 million. Just go out and pay it. You can't. How are these lads supposed to get first team football if they don't play? You know, in an ideal world, you'd want the kids coming in, maybe in a couple of cup games, maybe in a playing when you're playing a lower team in the division.
See,
You know,
I
to
disagree.
blood them in a bit.
I disagree. I think that's the problem with youth development in England, is that's what happens, and that's why they don't develop well, because you're not giving them a trust. The ones that do well are like, you know, like Rashford. He come in, they had to trust him because he had injury spell. I mean, the player that he wasn't even first choice. The player they were going to put in got injured as well. You know what I mean? The kid that they were going to bring in got injured,
Yeah.
so it ended up being Rashford at the last minute, and it's just like, well, you're going to have to play. We've got no choice. We've got no one else, so they had to trust him, and he turned out to be a revelation. And that's the difference is, when you bring in these players and you give them trust and you keep playing them regularly, like Phil Foden at Man City, the reason why he's performing isn't because he's, you know, it isn't because he's being taken in and out of the side. It's because Pep put him in and said, right, just go and play. And he just keeps him in there. If he has an off game, he keeps him in the next week anyway. That's what you've got to do with kids. You've got to trust them. You've got to say, I believe in you. Go and play, lad. And if you don't do that, they're just never going to learn. They're not gaining the experience. You know, instead they end up getting farmed out on loan to lower league sides, and they rarely gain anything from that, to be honest. You know, there's the odd exception. I mean, you look at them. How many players have come through that have gone out on loan for in the last 10 years? How many players have come through? I can only think of Harry Kane that's gone out on loan to a lower league side and has benefited from it. And that was only
Yeah,
because he
yeah.
was so bad, and he desperately wanted to be good. That's down to him. That's not down to the loan system at all.
No, I can see what you're saying there, Trish. Yeah.
Yeah, I just
But
think we get that. You've got to give them trust. Rooney, he was better when he was at Man United. You know what I mean, at Everton, because they just gave him a chance. Just say, get in there, go and do it.
oh yeah, if you're good enough, you're old enough, aren't you? You know, and enthusiasm that these kids have got offers something. You know, that's why. And I'm going back to Everton. Why we sending kids on loan, just like Sims and can't think of the other one's name. Send them out on loan, and why not give them a chance if you're not doing? Yeah, Cannon. Yeah. So why not give these kids a chance and let them prove something to the club
Exactly.
and
I
to
mean,
the supporters?
what do you got to lose when your strikers are not scoring? Why not why not just take the chance on a kid?
Yeah, absolutely, Trish. I agree with that.
And trust them. Keep them in there, no matter when they have a bad run, it's going to happen. Keep them in there.
Yeah,
See, I think that's a mistake. We've given Doak a taste, and then he's not he's not featured again. Whereas Bajetic has been given a run. You look at Trent Alexander-Arnold. The only reason he progressed is because he was put in, and he had to play. There was nobody else, so he had to be trusted.
yeah.
And he had to play. There was no right back to replace him. In fact, he wasn't even a right back himself at the time.
Not as a midfielder, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it's like, that's what you've got to do. You've got to give them a chance, and you've got to stick with them. Otherwise, they don't. Taking them out, it's not like. What are they learning from that? Nothing.
Yeah.
What they're learning is, you don't believe in them enough, and they'll lose his confidence. So,
Yeah. I
Anyways,
could buy into that, Trish. Yeah.
should we move on to Man City?
Go on, mate.
Uh,
Now, this is a strange one for me, the Cancelo, right?
no, he fell out with Pep.
Yeah, I know he fell out with Pep. And I know we spoke about it before when we were discussing Arsenal. But I think he's a fantastic player. I really do. And he'd be one of the first names on my team sheet. But, where does the buck stop? It stops with Pep Guardiola, and he's the man in charge. If he makes a decision, I suppose you've got to stick by it. Obviously something's gone on. We don't know the full extent of what's gone on. I certainly don't, anyway. But he's the man in charge in the end. And if he wants rid of Cancelo's got to go.
Well, what's happened?
Even though I think he's fantastic.
I'll explain what the problem was. What happened was he went away to the World Cup, comes back, kept giving, put in, he's playing a different team, he's not giving him a rest. Team's done well. Obviously, they weren't in the best of form prior to the World Cup, were they? They were hit and miss. Well, they've come back, they've played well without him in the team. So Pep's kept him on the sidelines because the performances have improved. He's not wanting to, he's not brought him back into the team. Cancelo's got his ass in his hand, wanted to play. They've had a fallout over it because he's been too vocal. Pep doesn't like people to question him, and so basically he said bye-bye. So he's gone on loan to Bayern with a view to a permanent move. 60 million apparently, not a bad.
Yes. No. For a man of his abilities, I think he's excellent. But in the end, it's got to be Pep's decision, hasn't it? He'll live and die by them decisions. But if, you've got to have respect for the manager. And if he hasn't got respect for the manager, he's got to go.
I've got a question. I've got a question now for you. Do you think that, because they were mostly playing him at left back, obviously with Mendy being out, they were short of a left back, but they brought some in, and Ake played there apparently. I think it was Ake that's played there and played well. So they've not needed a left back now, and obviously he's a right-footed player, so he wanted the left footer at left back. So I understand that one. But at right back, is Kyle Walker really that good? And at the age where you'd start thinking, of the two, surely it's time that you'd start be thinking time for FaZe and Kyle Walker out anyway. He's in his 30s. His pace is the only thing that keeps him in the team. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
He's not there because he's a brilliant defender. Because if he wasn't blisteringly quick, he'd be a fucking awful defender. He's got no positional sense. He's not very good in the air. He not very good in the tackle. He's not particularly clever. He tends to just go running all over the place, and he's not a special player other than the fact that he's so quick, and he's in his 30s.
It gets him out of trouble. It gets him out of trouble, his pace.
Yeah,
and
that's
all he's got.
Forward, because obviously he can just blast down the side, and there's not many defenders and midfielders who can live with him, so he can just run straight past them, you know what I mean, and get in behind.
Yeah.
I understand that. I understand what a threat. But he's in his 30s now. There's not much there's not much left in the tank before that's going to start. His pace is going to start going, and his fitness is going to start going. Surely this would have been a good time to, this season would have been better to phase him out, bring in Cancelo as the right back, and look to bring Walker on instead. Surely.
I could certainly see that, Trish. Yeah. But obviously he doesn't get on with Cancelo, or they've had a big falling out, and he's been the one who's who's up for the job. And you can see Pep's thinking on it. He can't let the players walk over the manager. The manager's got to have the final say in the end. And that's just one of them things in football. Players and managers fall out, and like Trossard, exactly the same. You can't undermine the manager, and he's got to have the final say. But I just think he's such a big miss for City, and I think he's going to be a great buy for Bayern Munich. But, I'm saying that, you never know what happens in football. He's only on loan. Things could improve, and he could go back to City in the end. You just never know, do you?
Yeah, there's plenty. I mean, time will tell. I mean, the only thing City did on the incomings is they brought in Maximo Perrone from Vélez Sarsfield in Argentina, Argentinian midfielder, just under 10 million, roughly. Don't know enough about him. I
don't know anything about him at all, by the way.
I mean, they'll be moving him around all their foreign clubs anyway. It'll be some kind of FFP move anyway involved, no doubt.
Yeah, cop out, yeah.
Yeah, that's just seems to be all it's about with them. He'll be at Girona or somewhere, not one of their other clubs in a few weeks, no doubt. Months, I mean.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But they've still got a very strong squad, haven't they? They've still got a fabulous array of players there. And do you know what surprised me? You talked about him before. Nathan Ake has been playing very well for City. I'm not his biggest fan. Never been his biggest fan. But when I've seen him play this season, he's been excellent for City.
He's a better left
back. And he's
back
come up with a few goals.
Centre back. Yeah. He's not a good
But he's done well. He looks comfortable on the ball as well.
He is very good on the ball. He's a midfield. He was a midfield. He wanted to play midfield. That was what he said.
Did he?
Is a midfielder. Yeah, he started out as a midfielder and wanted to play midfield.
But he does seem very comfortable. He surprised me. I thought he was only bought as a stopgap anyway. You know what I mean? But he surprised me how well he's played this season. He really has.
Yeah,
so who's after City? United?
Yes, obviously it's Man United next. So outgoings, Tuanzebe to Stoke on loan, and Martin Dubravka went back to Newcastle after they cancelled the loan, and obviously the Cristiano Ronaldo thing, they released him. So
yeah,
that was a while ago. That was before the January window, wasn't it? So not sure that counts in this, comes under the auspices of this really. So nothing really there. I mean, they've not lost anybody of consequence.
No.
So, and the ins is Wout Weghorst on loan from Burnley for roughly over 2.5 million anyway, and 2.5 million of it went to the other club that we're loaning him to pay off them to make the deal happen.
Was it Besiktas? Was he at Besiktas?
I think it was
Besiktas.
Besiktas, but I didn't want to say that in case I'm wrong because I haven't checked.
No, I think it was.
It was definitely a Turkish side anyway.
I think it was Besiktas.
And then they brought in Jack Butland as a backup keeper, even though he said he'd never be one, from Crystal Palace. And from Bayern Munich, they brought in Marcel Sabitzer on loan. He's 28. He's not young.
I haven't seen much of Sabitzer. Is he a good player?
He was good at Leipzig. I think it was Leipzig, is it? Or was it Salzburg? He was up before them. Oh, God, this way you need Seamus. He was definitely one of the Red Bull clubs. He was
Red
very
Bulls,
good there. Provided a lot of industry and work rate in midfield. You know, he was basically a bit of a workhorse. But I just don't think he had that necessary extra quality to step up at Bayern. And I do think that might be the issue he has at Manchester United as well. I'm not sure he's got that little bit extra, quality. But he's not there to be a long-term signing. He's there to be a loan, to cover. They just need some legs in midfield to see them through the season with the loss of Eriksen.
Right.
I think he'll do for that. He'll do the job. You know what I mean? He's certainly an improvement on Fred, quality-wise. So,
Go away.
And McTominay's hasn't looked anything like the player he once looked like he could be.
I've never been a big fan of McTominay. I know you have, Tris, but I've never been a big fan of him.
I think he had something, but he just never got used right. He never got any coaching as a kid. You need coaching to improve, to really learn. And he never. Do you know what
I've been impressed with? That Weghorst, right?
Very good.
I couldn't see why, he was at Burnley and I never seen much of him there really. And
technically,
but when I've seen him play, he's not a bad player at all. I was very dubious about them going in for him. I know only 2.5 million to Burnley and went back, but he's looked quite a good addition. Him actually, he holds up the ball very well, and he's a threat. And I think Ten Hag's done a marvellous job at United up to that.
Fantastic.
I really do.
Unfortunately, he's been brilliant. Yeah.
I think he has. I think he's been excellent. And the way he handled the Ronaldo situation, I thought was extremely good.
Yeah.
And everything he's done has turned to gold at the moment. And I know United aren't everyone's cup of tea as a club, but he's got them firing, and they're in the League Cup final now. They're still in the FA Cup. They're still in with an outside chance of winning the league. And, good luck to them, you know what I mean? He's been the piece that's missing of the jigsaw, possibly. Brought him some good players. Casemiro has done well for them when he brought him in. And they look a good side at the moment, United. And Marcus Rashford has been absolutely on fire. What a good... And they were talking about getting rid of him at one stage, by the way, 2 years ago, 18 months ago.
Yeah, they were. And I don't know, he was carrying an injury, he was working under Solskjaer. Just seemed a bit unfair to judge the lad. But,
but he's been brilliant this year, hasn't he? He's really made a difference and scored some great goals. He has scored some great goals.
It's almost like they've got a coach who actually tells them how to play, gives them some tactical input so they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that anyone could better the mighty Solskjaer, but yeah, Ten Hag's done it.
Yeah, I've been very impressed by him, by the way, up to now. Excellent. It's only early days, but he has been very good.
I like the way he handled when Rashford, even though he'd been playing brilliantly, was late.
Yeah.
And he put him on the bench.
And he was late for training. Yeah. Get on the bench.
Yeah, you dropped from the team, brought him on, and afterwards they had a hug, and obviously Rashford's realised his error, and he's, they've not fallen out over it. He's shown that he's not just a harsh taskmaster. He's shown
great man management.
Yeah,
absolutely, great man management.
Yeah, so he's done well.
And I really think they could go places.
You knew. Well, I think everyone knew he'd be an improvement over Solskjaer. I think the shock is just how much of an improvement he's been. It's just like night and day, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And they're playing good football. They are playing good football. And I've never been a fan of Bruno. I will never be a fan of Bruno because I think he's horrible. But he's been playing well as well, you know. And Casemiro's made a big difference to them.
Yeah.
And they just look more solid all round, you know, an all-round side.
Much better.
So, you know, yeah, I think so as well, Trish, yeah.
Should we move on to Newcastle then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ouch. Couple to Forest in John Joe Shelby and Chris Wood, both gone to Forest. Cardolo's gone out on loan to Hull City. And the young lad, they brought him in from Central Coast Mariners in the Australian A-League, teenage kid like Karang Kaul, who just made his Australia debut recently, and he's gone out on loan to Hearts. Nothing. I mean, they've lost nothing of value there.
No, John Joe's finished now, isn't he? I think so. I think John Joe's had this. No.
He's too slow of thought. He makes horrible challenges in that. He's a bit of a knob. He has eating problems. He struggles with his his lifestyle. And yeah, I know he went and got himself a chef, but I'm sorry, but you shouldn't need to do that at your age. You know what I mean? When you're 21.
No.
You're professional. You should be better. You should be better than that. I think, you know. And it's a worry that he needed to do that in the first place. But you know. Maybe he'll do well. Brilliant for Forest because he might be what they need—a bit of bite and nastiness in a battle against the drop. But I don't see.
Same with Chris Wood actually. They're not bad signings, you know. Chris Wood, not his biggest fan, but you know, he's a centre forward. He puts himself about. Yeah. If you're in a relegation scrap, he's the type of person you want. He works hard. And he can get you goals. You know, he's not prolific by any means, but he will get you goals.
I don't see him as an improvement over what they already had. Is the issue I'd have with him. Rather than I think he's that bad. You know, it's not that I think he's a bad signing for a relegation battle. I just don't think he was a signing Forest needed because I think they already had players just like him.
Right.
Anyway. Sorry, we're not at Forest, so I was thinking we'd just go to Newcastle.
We're Newcastle.
Your hero Anthony Gordon from Everton, 40-odd million. Harrison Ashby, youngster from West Ham, who wasn't going to sign a new contract, wanted out. They brought him in. It's another one that's a victim of Moyes refusing to play youngsters. Cool, as I said, and they brought back Dubravka and Matty Longstaff from loans. So, yeah, right. I mean, I'm not convinced by their recruitment policy. This is the first time, up till now, they've looked like they've really got it together and they know what they're doing now.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced. Ashby, brilliant signing. I think he could turn out, he could turn out to be a brilliant
I don't know much about him, Chris. Is he well taught?
Yeah, it's West Ham fans are gutted about him going. But he didn't want to stay there. He didn't want to stay because Moyes was never going to give him a chance. He wanted to leave to play games. They had no choice but to sell him or sack Moyes, and you can't sack Moyes over a youth team. No player wanted to go, can you? So
no.
But the Anthony Gordon one's the one I just don't see it. What they've spent 40-odd million on.
I don't actually. Had it been made up with 20 million, I really would have for Everton. I don't think he's shown enough. I don't think his attitude's great when he wouldn't miss training for 3 days because he had a strop on. And I don't like players holding the clubs to ransom to go. You know, I think they've got to show more loyalty to the manager, the owners and the fans than what Gordon's done at Everton. And I don't, he's got potential. That's what they're buying, potential. And he's quick. He is very quick, rapid, absolutely rapid. But a bit of an headless chicken for me. Ends up on the floor too much, rolling around. But, Newcastle, the buying policy has been decent up to now. I never thought Joe Linton would be a player who would really admire, but I do. Gamera's been a cracking signing for them. What a good player he is.
Joe Linton was
And
already at the club before. He was Mike Aston.
yeah, I know he was. Yeah, no, I'm just saying. The recruitment, about the recruitment. The recruited players who at first didn't think like Joe Linton, didn't show much as a centre forward. Drop him back and he's come really good. Gamera's looks really good, the midfield player. I think bigger clubs might have come in for him. I'm not sure what they paid for him. But they've done well. They're in the cup final. The supporters are going to Wembley. They must be made up at Newcastle. And as you say, I don't think they've had a great window. But I think they've done all right. They haven't weakened the side. So.
Oh yeah, that's definitely. It's just they haven't really strengthened it. But when they're in such a good position, I think that's the disappointment.
Yeah, possibly. That might cost. Not getting in a big player could cost them a European place, European Cup place. You know what I mean? Champions League, because they've got to be aiming for fourth. Even though I don't think they're good enough at the moment, I think they're hoping to get fourth.
But by the same token, not getting in a big name player could have kept getting in a big name player. Could have cost them a chance because it could have upset the dressing room. So maybe that's they're just trying to keep the team spirit alive, which wouldn't make sense in the signing a goal.
I don't know if you've seen.
Yeah.
No. Did you see the game the semi-final, second leg?
No.
Longstaff, who's like homegrown, what we were talking about before, he was excellent, absolutely excellent. Sean Longstaff, is it?
Sean. There's two.
I think it was Sean.
And Matthew,
yeah, Sean Longstaff, he was excellent the other night. But, we were talking about it before, about giving youngsters a chance. And Eddie Howe's done really well, and he's kept players in there that you might have thought, he might have got rid of because he got money and he can buy better players. But stuck with him, and he's done really well. And so why should they, if you've got good young players there, play them?
Yeah.
And let them get on with it.
Okay. Should we move on to Forest then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, outs first. They're all on loan. They brought back Josh Bowler from his loan to Olympiacos, but he'd already played for Olympiacos and Blackpool this season, so he couldn't play for anyone but Blackpool. So they've sent him out on loan again, but to Blackpool, back where they got him from. That Loic Mbiso has gone on loan to Guingamp in League 2. Jordan's League, as in French League 2, not League 2, England. Jordan Smith to Huddersfield on loan, the goalkeeper. Brandon Aguilera to Estoril in Portugal, and they sent back Loic Bade back to Rennes from his loan because he didn't turn out to be a very good signing. And incomings again, quite a few again. They've
Danilo, they do like to income.
Yeah,
Danilo.
Three Brazilians: Danilo from Palmeiras, Gustavo Scarpa also from Palmeiras, Felipe from Atletico Madrid. Total of 20 million, so not much outlay, but that's 3. John Joe Shelby from Newcastle, Chris Wood also from Newcastle. They brought in Keylor Navas from Paris Saint-Germain on loan.
That's a good signing, isn't it, Keylor Navas?
Brought back Hwang and Alex Mighton from their loans as well. So, do you know what? They loved him at Real Madrid. The fans loved him, but
yeah,
I don't know. He's all right. He's experienced and that, but I'm not. I don't know what. Did they must have needed a keeper because Henderson was on loan, but they've brought in another loan keeper. That's what I don't understand. It seems a bit. Also, I'm really confused because they've got like.
Is it a loan to buy with a view to buy though, Tris? Keylor Navas.
I don't know, mate. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about a loan view to buy, so I don't know. But
it's a great name for Nottingham Forest. Yeah, it's a great name for Nottingham to get, though, isn't it? A well-established, well-thought-of keeper.
He's decent
You
on the
know,
ball, which they need.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad signing. It's not exactly long-term thinking, is it? 36-year-old
No,
keeper, that's the issue.
no, but still a big name, and
Mm.
at least they're trying to get out of the relegation. Yeah, I know they're
Right.
not in it, no, but they
They're not.
are, you know, buying.
They're not spending some money though and bringing in a lot of players. If it,
Yeah,
yeah, this. It's shocking how many players one team can bring in. They
they're
brought in
evolving, though.
more than an entire squad. I mean,
I know.
it's astonishing. It's fair. You've got to say well done to Steve Cooper for getting anything out of that many players. You know, managing to get them
Yeah,
into a team. It's
I know.
amazing that he's managed to do anything. I don't know anything about much about the players really. John Joe Shelby, I'm not a fan of though. Gotta say,
No.
Chris Wood, I just think they didn't really need him. Kane, yeah, they needed the keeper, but they need one for the long term really because they don't have one. That's why they had Henderson on loan from Man United, who's out injured, which is why they had to sign one.
Yeah.
Danilo, defensive midfielder, they obviously needed one. Centre back, they needed. See, that's where they've brought in one centre back, but they needed an entire defence, to be honest. The centre backs are poor, and they needed one. So Felipe, if he's an improvement, which he looked like he was at Atletico Madrid, then he'll be the key one. He'll be the best signing out of them because they desperately
Yeah,
need a
there's a
centre
pretty
back.
big sign. What did they pay for interest?
Only a couple of million. He's 33, mate. So
Yeah, I know he's 33, but as we were talking about Everton before, bring players in even if it's only short term to get you out of trouble. I know that season, if they can get a tune out of him, even if it's for a year or two, for that sort of money, it's job done, isn't it?
Mm.
And at least it's forward thinking. Bit of forward thinking.
For a team in the situation you and the Euro in, it'd have been a great signing.
Yeah, I think so.
At that price. So yeah, give it all that. But Nottingham Forest, they seem to be going the right way. Going up the table. They seem to be getting themselves. They look to be a team that's going to stay safe now because of how well Steve Cooper's done to build a team out of these players that have been brought in. The only question is whether they can make the next step up now by bringing in better quality, or whether this is, whether they're just going to keep bringing in larger quantity all the time and hope that some of them work out. Is it sustainable? Who knows?
I was just going to say that to you. I was just going to, a revolving door policy like they've got. So many players in, so many players out. But I know when they first come up, they had to, most of the players were on loan. And he basically started with a new team. And he's added to that. Amazing job he's done up to now, to be fair to him. And, at least they're giving it a go.
Yeah.
You can't ask no more.
Yeah, you can't really complain that they're not. So if you're a Nottingham Forest fan, this must be a great time to be alive, really.
Yeah.
After the last few years.
Have you gone off, Trish, or is it me?
What do you mean? Can you not hear me?
Yeah, I can now. Yeah, you went off for a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know whether it was me or you.
I don't know. I thought I was okay. Should we move on to Southampton?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just quick on the outs. They've only sent Dan and Lundalu out on loan to Bolton. Inns, they brought in. They've spent a club record fee on Kamaldeen Sulemana from Stade Rennais. Paul Onuachi from Genk. Carlos Alcaraz from Racing Club. Mislav Orsic from Dinamo Zagreb. James Bree from Luton Town. And Jan Bednarek's returned from his loan at Villa. I mean, the issue they've got is I'm not sure that it really matters who they bring in while Nathan Jones is in charge. He's a hoofball manager. That's what he's always been. He's always liked to play long ball football. He's very old. It's like 1980s football with him. I think he's a bad choice, but never know. He might prove me wrong and turn out to produce a Pep Guardiola style performances out of the team now just to prove me wrong and make me look stupid, but
I can't see it. I can't see it, I'll be honest with you,
I
with
think they're in
Jones.
massive trouble.
I'm not his biggest fan. But again, they've spent out a good bit of money, a club record as well, and they've got a few players in who can give them that lift, can possibly get them safe, and they are having a go, unlike some other teams that we could mention. But bit of kudos to them for
Why
actually. Go on.
I just thought strange signing. James Breeze, the right back from Luton Town. Might be a fantastic right back, but they've already got loads of right backs. They've been playing them at left back. Remember Carl Walker-Peters, etc. They've all been.
I like him as well.
Exactly. I mean, you don't really. So they obviously didn't need a right back. So why did they sign one? I mean, it just seems like they're another team that's not actually know what they need, and because they brought in 2 left wingers, that Sulemana they paid a club record fee, and that Orsic that they bought a bit earlier in the window, both left wingers. I mean, do you really need to buy 2 left wingers in a?
I know what you're saying, yeah. I didn't think they'd get Sulemana, to be honest with you. He was heavily linked to us again, another Red Enham probably, but he was linked to us and. Along with Danjuma. All these players linked to us, but they signed him and they paid good money for him, 22 million, which isn't a fortune for the big club, but it's their record signing. And, he's obviously looking to strengthen the squad, and he's done that. I think he's strengthened the squad. So, give yourself a chance to get out of it.
But they're a very
That's all you can ask for.
Very odd team. They brought in the summer. They brought in a load of players as well. They spent quite heavily in the summer, but they recruited like players from teams like Manchester City, where they've grown up. They're very technically minded. They're footballers who play technical football. You know what I mean? They're ball players first and foremost. So I can understand that. But when they got rid of Ralph Hasenhüttl, which they needed to do, obviously, why'd you then go to a manager who doesn't play the kind of football that you've recruited the players to play?
Players for, I can see that.
It seems a very messy.
Alcaraz looks alright as well, by the way. The midfielder, Alcaraz.
Yeah,
he looks okay as well.
Does look like he's going to be good. He's only 20. He's got play. I mean, most of their a lot of their signings. Sorry, I should say, because in the winter window they didn't sign so many. They signed a mixed bag, but they have been recruiting youngsters to take them on, and long term they should be okay on the player front. But it's the manager that's the issue.
I'm not a fan of Jones.
I think they're in trouble.
Yeah,
them and Everton have to be the favourites
for a reason. Yeah. They're at the bottom of the league for a reason, aren't they? It's just not up to the Premier League standard, I don't think. But as you say, I think people can prove you wrong, and they're trying their best. So, what more can you ask for?
Yeah. So should we move on to Tottenham then? Spurs next. Right. Oh, fuck. Sorry. Hang on. Didn't change.
Fullback went out. Absolutely awful.
Right. The outs are Brian Hill went out on loan again to Sevilla. Jed Spence, who was a club signing according to Conte, who clearly didn't want, went out on loan to Rennes. Stade, and then Matt Doherty, they released him.
Matt Doherty, yeah.
Couldn't loan him out because he already had 2 international loans, and you're only allowed 2 international loans outwards apparently from the Premier League, so they had to release him so he could go and make a free transfer move to Atletico Madrid. So and then incoming,
terrible player anyway.
He was all right. He was all right at Wolves. It just wasn't suited to the way they played, way Spurs play. And then
never been a fan.
So they let two right backs out, one on loan, and they brought in Pedro Porro on loan, a right back, and Arnaud Danjuma, a left winger on loan, and Alfie Whiteman came back from a loan spell, a goalkeeper. So they haven't really done anything considering they desperately need it. But to be fair, they probably are a little bit hampered by what's been going on with Juve and Paratici being banned. Their sporting director.
Yeah.
He couldn't be involved or shouldn't have been involved in any of these deals. So that might have, to be fair, they might have been hampered by that, and that's why not much got done.
Yeah, we talked about that last week, didn't we? And yeah, that's a precarious situation for Spurs.
They've spent out
I
on
don't think
loan
they've-
fees as well.
Yeah.
€8 million just on the loan fees for the Danjuma and Porro. It seems a bit. Just
Yeah, they're trying to get a Champions League place, and I don't think they've done enough for me. Danjuma's okay, you know what I mean? I wasn't bothered whether we got him or they got him, really wasn't. I think he's okay, but I thought if they were going to make a push for Champions League, because they're only 3 points behind fourth place, I think, and I thought they might have made a bit of a fist of it, but as you say, they could be hamstrung there with the trying to get players in.
It's astonishing that they're so high up, and it just shows how bad the league has been this season. They're so high up in the league because they've been awful this season.
They haven't been great, have they? No.
Well, they've been abysmal. Every time I watch them, I think, they're just not. They're not even in. They're not. They don't look like a team even. This is the thing. Conte normally has them well drilled in that, and they look like they know each other inside out, but they've just not looked like anything. So.
No, mate, no, they haven't.
Yeah, it's a surprise at where they are. They can. Surely they've got to improve as a team though over the second half of the season.
That's why I thought they might have brought a couple of names in, but as we were talking about before, sometimes it's not always possible, is it? And you don't want to be stuck with players just bought on a whim. And so, but I thought they might have made a bit more of a push for Champions League, being so close as they are now, but obviously
I would have thought so too. Shall we move on to West Ham then? Hammers.
Yeah.
Out Craig Dawson to Wolves, Darren Randolph on a free transfer to Bournemouth, and Connor Coventry out on loan to Rotherham. I thought they lost that Ashby as well. Why is he not in there? That's probably because he was their under 21 team. Of course, they won't list it as if. And
right.
Then Inns is Danny Ings and Luis from Sao Paulo on a free transfer because he was out of contract. Yeah, look, I mean, Luis out, but how many defenders does one team need? David Moyes just seems to keep buying centre-backs. Did he do the same at...
He's always been the same?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Always been the same by defenders. That's all he ever bought, defenders.
Well, that's
He's
he
not an
wants to play 8
attacking
of them
manager.
in the team, doesn't he? So,
Yeah, absolutely.
And Danny Ings looked a good buy, but getting an injury, I mean,
I know, yeah. My heart goes out to that lad, but... he's had such a bad time and he's such a good player. But I think they're in trouble, West Ham, in the Premier League. And if you can get a proven goal scorer in for 10 million, 12 million, whatever they paid for him, and when he's fit, he's as good as most people out there in the Premier League. He scores goals, he works hard, and I think he's been that's a cracking signing for West Ham.
Oh yeah, I think they've done really well there. I think now, if he only stayed fit, that's the issue. Is whether it'll be too late when he gets back fit is the problem. That's what worries me for them.
I think for the money, it's not the biggest gamble. What you get these days in football for 10 million quid. You know what I mean? I think it's a good signing for them if he can stay fit, and it is a big if with Danny, I'm afraid.
Yes,
but I think he's a smashing player.
Do you think they've done enough to save themselves? Because it doesn't look it to me.
I think they're going to be in trouble because of the manager. He's so negative. He's always been in there. I've never been. But his teams usually work out, but they haven't got enough about them to definitely say they'll be safe. Yeah. I think they're going to be in and around the relegation. They might miss it by 2 or 3 places. Every chance of doing that. because my stars do work, and but the West Ham want to see football like Moyes plays. I don't think so.
No, they want him out. Most of them do anyway. The vast majority.
Yeah.
They see him the same way as Sam Allardyce. They don't like him. They don't want him. They never did really.
Yeah.
He won them over because he started off playing a totally different brand of football when he first came in, but he's reverted to type, and they don't want him.
Well, if it doesn't change its spots, I'm
Well,
afraid.
actually it does, but that's another story. Just to point out, during its life, a leopard spot's change, and you see them, and they've got like a flower around it that grows throughout their entire life, and it changes. So they do change over the course of their life. As they get bigger, their spots grow. Develop flowers
Right.
around them. Yeah, see, I didn't know that until recently. Yeah, so they do actually change. But yeah, that's a totally different story. Because David Moyes doesn't. Yeah, so
No, absolutely not.
Now they're a team.
Yeah.
They're a team that actually have tried. They're obviously in relegation trouble. They brought in Julian Lopetegui to try and rescue them. Looks top class manager. He's got a great record. Always been impressed with him, his teams, when I've seen them. And then then in the January window, they've invested. They've clearly seen that they've been struggling for a while. They've been going backwards, and they've obviously realised it's time to invest. So they brought in a few out. Campagna gone out to Inter Miami. Connor Ronan's gone out to Colorado Rapids. Leo Bonatini's gone to San Luis in Mexico on a free. That Guedes, who they only brought in the summer, but they've sent him out on loan. He doesn't seem to be working out, to Benfica.
Right.
Fabio Silva came back from his loan to, was it Anderlecht? Yeah, Anderlecht, and now he's gone out to PSV on loan. Keanu Hoover, I mean, God, how far he's fallen. He's come back from a loan to PSV, oddly, and now he's gone out to Stoke. Yerson Mosquera's gone out on loan to Cincinnati, FC Cincinnati in the MLS, and Matthias Sarkic is also on loan at Stoke. In Stoke, they've spent a fair bit. They've brought in João Gomez, looks a fabulous signing from Flamengo, who fought to be there. Plenty of other clubs were in for him, but he said no, he wanted Wolves. So good on the lads. He'd given his word and said no, I stand by my word. Stood his ground. I like that. That's a great sign.
Yeah.
21 years old. Sounds like he's got his head on his shoulders. Made a promise and he's sticking to it. I like that a lot.
Unusual.
Yeah, very. Former Southampton midfielder Mario Lemina, ex-Juventus. They brought him from Nice. Pablo Sarabia coming from Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah, good signing, though.
Do you think so? I've not seen a lot.
Yeah, I like Sarabia.
Craig Dawson in from West Ham. I think he's a good signing. Daniel Bentley in from Bristol City, backup keeper. Doesn't really matter whether he's any good or not, really. Matthias Cunha's come in on loan from Atletico Madrid. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So they've spent.
Yeah, that's good business, that, isn't it? They've done good business, I think.
Yeah, they brought in what looks like they've brought in a lot of what they need, apart from whether Cunha and Sarabia between them can be the goal scorers they need. That's the usual issue with that.
Yeah.
They don't have a top class goal scorer.
Jimenez just isn't the same player he was before he got in. And they've got Pedro Neto to come back, who's a fantastic little player for me. And he's been injured for a long while now. But if he gets back, they'll have a lot of options.
Yeah, the worry is obviously he's another one that ends up being not coming back to the same level he was, is the issue.
Yeah.
But if he does,
absolutely.
They look to have a good side there. I think they've done well this window.
Yeah.
I don't think Lamine is the greatest player in the world, but he's certainly not the worst. He'll put effort in, work rate, put in a tackle. It's what they need. You need in a relegation battle. And Dawson's another one. He's a very good
steady.
He's a steady defender,
very steady.
and he's better on the ball than people think. I think he's not. I think he's a very good player. Good in the air. Yeah,
He's good in the air, yeah.
and he'll probably notch a couple of goals from set pieces as well, which which is obviously a useful thing. But yeah, it's just waiting to see whether they can score the goals. I'm not sure Sarabia's got the goals in him. I'm not sure Cunha's got the goals in him. So, yeah.
I think they're a lot stronger than what they were before the window. So, So, I'm saying, they've got a good chance of getting out of the relegation, if they are in the relegation and above it. But, they've given themselves the best possible opportunity to still be in the Premier League next year.
Yeah, they've moved themselves forward. You can't ask for much more than that each window. You just gotta, even if it's just a small step, you've made a step forward. That's all you can ask your team to do, really.
Something to make a difference. Yeah, something to make a difference. That's all you want. That's all you ask your club to do. Try and get us, to be better than what we were. Even if it's one player, if it's a player on loan. But some clubs haven't, and some clubs have.
You just keep going back to that, don't you?
Don't adjust, yeah. Like a dog with a bone. Well, we've done all the teams now, mate.
Yep.
So I'm going to go and get me tea now. It's spaghetti bolognese tonight. So I shall get me garlic bread and put a bit of Pavarotti on and enjoy my meal.
Okay, mate. Well,
okay, thanks, Chris.
We'll call it a day then. See you next Thursday. Thank you, anyone that's listening.
Okay,
if
mate.
anyone has, I don't know.
Okay, cheers. Thanks very much.
We'll see you all next Thursday.
I shall see you next Thursday. Ta-ra, mate.
Bye-bye.
Ta-ra.